Chapter 1796. Chapter 1808. Car accident. Humans die for riches, birds die for food. There were plenty of examples like this in the world. If he hadn't been greedy for more money, he wouldn't have ended up with nothing at all.
Young man, you seem to have something on your mind?
An old man walked over to the bench beside Peng Zhan and sat down. It was weird for him to call Peng Zhan young man, but with his age, it wasn't too much.
Haha, it's nothing.
Peng Zhan, naturally, didn't want to talk about his pain with a stranger. He only smiled faintly. If there's something on your mind, if there's something you can't solve, then go die. The old man said, minding his own business.
Go die.
Peng Zhan paused, a trace of confusion flashing through his eyes. He stood up abruptly and started stumbling forward, charging towards a van that was speeding past. A loud bang sounded as the van sent Peng Zhan's body flying, followed by the screech of the brakes. The old man stood up, not even looking at Peng Zhan as he turned and left. He was the hypnotist in disguise. The police and ambulance arrived at the scene quickly, but the van driver didn't run away. Instead, he was kneeling on the ground with his head lowered, not knowing what to do next. The ambulance took Peng Zhan away and rushed to the hospital, leaving the police behind to investigate the scene. The van's dashcam showed that Peng Zhan seemed to have committed suicide, crashing into the van of his own volition. At least that was what the video showed. The police couldn't confirm the victims or the victim's identity yet, so they couldn't confirm whether or not the victim had a motive to commit suicide. They had to investigate further to determine if the driver should be held responsible. However, the results of the investigation came out quickly. Peng Zhan was the former chairman of Peng Zhan Industries, but his recent investments had failed, causing him to lose everything. From this, it could be seen that his motive for suicide was very clear. According to the owner of a nearby newsstand who had witnessed the whole accident, Peng Zhan had indeed rammed into the car of his own volition. He'd been sitting on a bench by the side of the road when an old man passed by and said a few words to Peng Zhan. It was as if Peng Zhan had gone insane and rammed into the car that was coming his way. That old man was suspicious, and perhaps he'd said something to provoke Peng Zhan, or maybe he'd failed to persuade Peng Zhan, causing him to commit suicide. However, the newsstand owner didn't remember what the old man looked like, and his attention was diverted by the accident. As for when the old man left, he didn't see it clearly. The driver of the van didn't have to bear any responsibility with the driver and the car recorder as witnesses. Peng Zhan didn't die on the spot, but he was sent to the hospital's intensive care unit. Li Fu rushed to the hospital the moment he got the news. Meng Yao, on the other hand, didn't know about all this. She was waiting for her father's call, but there was no answer. She tried again, but there was still no answer. Meng Yao didn't think much about it, thinking that Peng Zhan was in a meeting. When she was about to call again, Elder Zhang appeared in the guest room. Have you guys made up your mind? Elder Zhang still had the same humble smile on his face, but his words were very formal. Even if he was a heaven stage expert, he would always use the same tone when dealing with customers who came to exchange or buy heavenly treasures. This was also the way of survival in the Snow Valley. Even cultivators had to eat and drink. They also needed money to buy other natural treasures for cultivation. Elder Zhang, can we discuss this? We don't have that much money on hand right now. Can you give us the ice spirits fruit for my friend first, and we'll gather the money later? Tang Yin hesitated before begging sincerely. We'll definitely gather the money, but we can't be too fast. I'm afraid my friend won't be able to last that long. Dear customers, our Snowy Valley has always been a business deal. We don't take credit, so I'm sorry, but please leave. Elder Zhang said faintly. Elder Zhang, please, we'll give you the money. It's just that we don't have that much right now, but my friend really can't wait much longer. Tang Yun stood up and bowed deeply. Please, Elder Zhang, please let us go. I understand how you guys feel, but we've seen this a lot in Snowy Valley over the years. If we take credit every time, wouldn't we be breaking the rules? Elder Zhang's face didn't change at all. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. You guys don't need to say any more. You can come by the ice spirits fruit when you have enough money, otherwise there's no need to talk. Elder Zhang, I'm begging you, can you talk to the valley head? Thank you. Meng Yao was panicking as well, begging with Tang Yin. Please, Elder Zhang, this is his only hope. If he misses it, I'm afraid. Fine, I'll ask for you guys, but it's up to the valley head to decide. Elder Zhang was a kind-hearted person. Looking at these ordinary people in front of him who did not have the slightest bit of strength,
He naturally felt some admiration for them for coming all the way to the Snow Valley to seek medicine for a cultivator.
If Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and the others were practitioners, Elder Zhang wouldn't have let them in. But they weren't.
Elder Zhang felt a bit of sympathy for them, seeing that they had come all the way here.
Thank you, Elder Zhang. Tang Yun's eyes flashed with gratitude. Elder Zhang nodded and didn't say anything else. He turned around and left the room. However, the results of Elder Zhang's report disappointed Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Shu.
The Valley Master only replied with 2 words. No.
Elder Zhang said regretfully, "Everyone, this is the Valley Head's wish, I can't do anything about it. Please go back." This was the Snowy Valley. They relied on selling treasures to make money. If it were the Ice Palace, Tang Yin and the others wouldn't receive such treatment. Going to the Ice Palace to buy the Fire Spirit's fruit, even if a normal person offered 2 billion or even 10 billion, Bing Tang wouldn't be moved. After all, the Fire Spirit's fruit was a necessary medicine for the Ice Palace practitioners to prevent themselves from going crazy. But the Ice Spirit's fruit was just a precious medicine to the Snowy Valley. It had no use for them. Chapter 1797. Rock Candy's sister Tang Yun and Meng Yao looked at each other. They could see the sadness in each other's eyes, but Tang Yun still didn't want to give up. If she really left like this, then Lin Yi would be in danger. That was worse than killing her. Elder Zhang, can you please introduce us to the headmaster so that we can ask for it personally? Tang Yun knew that this request was a bit over the top, but she had no other choice.
Little girl, I advise you to leave.
Elder Zhang smiled bitterly. Shueli had been humiliated by Bingtang and was in a bad mood. This was also the reason why Shueli rejected him before he could even finish his sentence. Hence, from his point of view, Shueli wouldn't agree to their suggestion no matter what Tang Yun said. After all, this had never happened in the history of the Snow Valley. How could there be a debt on credit? Elder Zhang, I'm begging you. We can really gather enough money, but my friend can't wait that long. Tang Yun bowed deeply to Elder Zhang again. Then I'll have to trouble you. Little girl, we can't do anything without rules. Although I believe you, the headmaster might not. If our valley does business like this in the future, then wouldn't it be a mess? Elder Zhang said, Little girl, you might not know this, but the headmaster isn't someone you can meet just because you want to. Even if it's a disciple, they might not be able to meet the headmaster. Although Elder Zhang didn't say it clearly, the meaning behind his words was clear. With Tang Yun's group's identity, it was impossible for them to request to see the Valley Master. Tang Yun hesitated and gritted her teeth. Elder Zhang, please tell the headmaster that I am the sister of the Ice Palace's headmaster, Rock Candy. Tell her not to worry. We won't give her a single cent less. This time my friend used the fruit, so I'll go to the Ice Palace to get the money. What? After hearing Tang Yun's words, Elder Zhang's face revealed an expression of extreme shock. He had originally thought that Tang Yun was only related to a small clan or a small sect, and came to the Snow Valley after being introduced. After all, the Snow Valley was different from the other ancient sections. Many people knew the location of the Snow Valley, and it was not a secret. We can even leave my friend here as collateral, and we'll take him away after we get the money. Tang Yin added, afraid that Elder Zhang wouldn't agree. However, Elder Zhang had a strange expression on his face. You said, you are the younger sister of the Ice Palace Palace Master?
Yes.
Tang Yun nodded. Elder Zhang didn't know how to react. Wasn't Bingtang an orphan? Why was there a younger sister? What was going on? Based on what I know, the Ice Palace's Palace Master is an orphan. How could she have a sister?
Elder Zhang asked. Just now.
Tang Yun said. If Elder Zhang doesn't believe me, you can contact the Ice Palace to verify it. At first, Tang Yun didn't want to bring up this relationship, but she had no other choice. If she didn't say it now, they'd kick her out. Wait for a second. I'll go report to the Valley Master. Elder Zhang was shocked, but Tang Yun's expression didn't seem to be fake. After all, this kind of thing could be easily found out. There was no need for her to lie. If the Snow Valley found out that she was lying, then she wouldn't be able to get the Ice Spirit fruit. Thank you, Elder Zhang. Tang Yun heard Elder Zhang's words and relaxed. Finally there was a chance. May I ask what your name is? Elder Zhang asked.
Tang Yun.
Tang Yun said. All right, wait here. After saying that, Elder Zhang walked out of the guest room again. Although Elder Zhang had regained his composure on the surface, his heart was in turmoil. These ordinary people were related to the palace master of the Ice Palace, Rock Candy? But, since it involved Bingtang, Elder Zhang couldn't make the decision himself. He could only ask the Valley Master Sydney again.
Valley Master Shui.
After the disciple reported, Elder Zhang entered Sydney's room again. Elder Zhang, why are you back? Did they leave? Shueli felt a little strange. Elder Zhang had just asked those people about the credit, but in less than a quarter of an hour, he returned again, which made her feel a little puzzled.
No. They want to see the Valley Master personally,
Elder Zhang said. Valley Master Shui. However, before Elder Zhang could finish his words, Shueli's originally gloomy face became even gloomier. Her originally delicate and pretty face became a little strange. Meet me? Elder Zhang, why are you reporting this? Why didn't you just reject them? Although Sydney wasn't a sky-class late-phase peak, she had a high reputation in the valley. This had to do with her being the Grand Elder and the old Valley Master's last disciple. Valley Master Shui, that's what I told them. However, one of them claimed to be the sister of the Ice Palace's palace master. So I can't make a decision. That's why I'm here to ask for your opinion. Elder Zhang smiled bitterly. Ice Palace? Master? Which palace master? Sydney paused. Ice Palace Master Bingtang. Elder Zhang wasn't surprised by Sydney's reaction. After all, he was shocked when he first heard the news. What? She's Bingtang's sister? Sydney's expression changed slightly, but then a hint of embarrassment flashed across her face. Thinking about how Bingtang rejected her suggestion, she was pissed. You just rejected her, and now you're asking your sister to buy the fruit. Are you looking down on the valley?
Yes, so Valley Master, it's better for you to meet her personally.
Elder Zhang smiled bitterly. After all, we're from the same lineage as the Ice Palace. From the same lineage. If Bingtang really saw the same lineage, why would she reject our suggestion? Although Sydney was the Valley Master, she was still young. She wasn't as mature as the elders. Let them go. Don't make me angry if they stay here. Yes, I'll send them away now. Elder Zhang smiled bitterly. Sydney was venting her anger on Bingtang's sister. It would have been better if he didn't mention their relationship. Now that he mentioned it, it made Sydney even angrier. Wait! A voice was heard. Before the person arrived, the voice reached them first. Then, a figure floated over and appeared in front of Shueli and Elder Zhang. However, when they saw who it was, Sydney and Elder Zhang's expression turned serious. They cupped their fists and bowed. Greetings, Grand Elder! Hashtag. Chapter 1798. She turned and left. What happened? I just passed by and heard that Bingtang's sister is here?
The Grand Elder looked at Elder Zhang.
Yes, it's like this. Elder Zhang didn't dare to hide anything and told the Grand Elder everything that had happened in detail. Oh, what's her name? The Grand Elder asked. She said her name is Tang Yun, Elder Zhang said. Tang Yun. The Grand Elder's expression changed slightly. Although Bingtang's relationship with the hidden Tang family was a secret among the hidden houses, it wasn't much of a secret among the ancient people. More or less, the Snow Valley had their own information channels. The Grand Elder also knew that Bingtang had some relationship with the hidden Tang family. After all, their whereabouts couldn't be hidden from the Snowy Valley. If the person's surname was Tang, then she might really be Bingtang's sister. Xiao Li, Elder Zhang, come with me to meet the sister of the Ice Palace Master. The Grand Elder said. Grand Elder, Bingtang just rejected our proposal. Why should we give her face? Sydney looked at the Grand Elder confusedly. Shaoli, do you think that I'm giving her face? The Grand Elder said faintly, Bingtang is also a sky-class late-phase peak, but her cultivation is weaker than mine. Why would I be afraid of her? Then you are. Sydney didn't understand and so did Elder Li. One had to know that the Great Elder usually did not receive guests. Even if the envoys of other ancient sects or ancient families came here, the Great Elder would not show himself. Only if the sect master of a sect personally came to the Snow Valley would the Great Elder appear. But today, for Bingtang's sister, the Grand Elder was going to greet her personally. It was unbelievable. Shaoli, why did you contact Bingtang? The Grand Elder asked. Is it because of The inheritor? Sydney wasn't stupid. After the Grand Elder's reminder, she realized something and her eyes flashed with joy. Grand Elder, you mean? That's right. Since Rock Candy has a fake ice heart jade bone constitution, could her sister also have the same constitution? The Grand Elder nodded his head and said, if her sister also has the same constitution, then as long as we take her in and refine an ice heart jade bone pill for her, we can solve the troubles of our Snow Valley for many years. All right, let's go take a look. Xueli was a little excited, and her face was abnormally flushed. However, the coldness in her body was also raised to the extreme along with the fluctuation of her mood. The whole room was like a world of ice and snow. In an instant, the furniture in the room was covered with a layer of frost. Fortunately, Elder Li and Grand Elder both cultivated the same ice attribute mental cultivation method, so they were not affected much. If it were an ordinary person, they would have long frozen to death. Little Li, how many times have I told you that cultivating the heartless spell is to cultivate your mind? Only by maintaining a cold heart can you go further in the martial arts. You get angry easily, so it's not easy to cultivate your mind. Not being happy with material things and not being sad for yourself is the highest state of the cold heart. Little Li was a little embarrassed. She lowered her head in front of the Grand Elder on the stage like a child. Sorry, Grand Elder, I got angry. Forget it, who hasn't been young before? The Grand Elder shook her head helplessly. It was obvious that she loved Sydney very much. You are only in your 20s, it's normal for you to be like a child. Elder Zhang didn't say anything at the side. At this time, he could only pretend that he didn't see anything. The Grand Elder's attitude towards Sydney was very good, but it might not be the same for other people. The rules of the Snow Valley were very strict. If Elder Zhang laughed, he might be punished to patrol the valley, even if he was an elder. The Grand Elder, Sydney, and Elder Zhang came to the guest room together. The appearance of the Grand Elder and Sydney made Tang Yun a little confused. She didn't know who was the Valley Master of the Snow Valley, so she could only say, Valley Master, Elder Zhang. This is our Snow Valley's Grand Elder. Elder Zhang gave Tang Yun a look and introduced. Greetings, Grand Elder. Tang Yun's heart jumped. Why did the Grand Elder come over? Originally, she thought that it was not easy to see the Valley Master, but even the Grand Elder came. This made Tang Yun a little nervous. She didn't know why the Snow Valley would make such a big scene. Could it be because of the rock candy? Who is Tang Yun? The Grand Elder asked. It's me. Tang Yun said carefully. Give me your hand, let me have a look. The Grand Elder looked at Tang Yun expressionlessly and said, okay. Tang Yun didn't know what the Grand Elder meant, but she still extended her hand and gave it to the Grand Elder. The Grand Elder directly pressed on Tang Yun's wrist, as if she was checking something. Elder Zhang and Sydney didn't say anything. This made Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu a little suspicious, but they didn't dare to ask. Although the Grand Elder didn't say anything, she frowned slightly. After the time it took to drink a cup of tea, the Grand Elder sighed and shook her head slightly. Elder Zhang, send the guest out. Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu's faces changed. Although they didn't know why the Grand Elder suddenly wanted to send the guest out, Tang Yun didn't want to let go of this last chance. Her tears were about to fall. Grand Elder Valley Master, please help us, I beg you, 1 billion, we will definitely give you 1 billion. The Great Elder didn't even want to say a word. Sometimes, things were just that realistic. If the Great Elder found out that Tang Yun really had a fake ice heart and jade bone physique, she would probably try her best to please her and make her stay. However, Tang Yun wasn't. In her eyes, she had no value at all. She was no different from an ordinary person. Please, I beg you. At this moment, Tang Yun thought of something. Back then, Xiaoxiao was chosen by the Ice Palace because of her cold body. She became the heir of the Ice Palace, and it was because of this that Xiaoxiao's life could continue. But if Xiaoxiao didn't have a cold body, then things would be different. Fortunately, Lin Yi's perseverance touched Elder Qing, and she also found out about Xiaoxiao's cold body. Before, the Grand Elder was probably testing her body, but Tang Yun naturally knew that she didn't have a cold body. She didn't have an ice heart and jade bones. Even a fake one like Bingtang didn't have one. Otherwise, Bingtang would have found it long ago, and the Grand Elder wouldn't have had to check. #target=_blank. Chapter 1799. Her hair and eyelashes were covered in ice crystals and snowflakes, but Tang Yun didn't move at all. She knelt in front of the entrance.
She believed that her sincerity would move the Grand Elder and the Valley Master. Yun sis.
Are you all right? Yushu would get out of the car every once in a while to check on Tang Yun. She was afraid that Tang Yun would freeze to death. Normal people wouldn't be able to endure this cold weather. I'm fine. Tang Yun's voice was weak, but firm. Oh, it's so cold. Can you take it? Shu asked hesitantly. It's fine. I told you that I'm quite cold resistant. I used to live in a bungalow, and it was cold in the winter too, haha. Tang Yun smiled bitterly. She was indeed freezing, and her body was stiff. Kneeling for so long was something normal people wouldn't be able to take. Even if Tang Yun was cold resistant, how could she relax in this kind of weather? Shu, on the other hand, couldn't take it anymore. Yun sis. I'll be going back then. Take care of yourself. We'll think of something else if you can't handle it. Lin Yi said with a smile on his face. All right, Yun sis. Okay. Tang Yun gritted her teeth and took a deep breath. Lin Yi, I can do it. I've never been able to do anything for you, but this time, I can proudly tell you that I'm a strong girl. Yushu went back to the car and saw Meng Yao's wet eyes. Yao sis, do you think Yun sis will freeze to death if she keeps this up? Don't jinx it, Saint Hall. Sanctuary. Meng Yao glared at Shu. Shu quickly covered her mouth and changed her words. No, Prophet Shu needs to make a new prophecy. Not only can Yun sis not freeze to death, she'll freeze even more. Meng Yao didn't know what to say. Freeze even more? What kind of logic was that? In the snowy valley, Elder Zhang heard the disciples' report and sighed helplessly. He was this month's class elder, so he was in charge of everything in the valley. He knew Tong Yun's situation like the back of his hand. Although Elder Zhang didn't order the patrolling disciples to chase Tang Yun and the others away, he still couldn't help but worry. He hesitated for a moment and walked towards the Grand Elder's room. Coincidentally, Sydney was also in the Grand Supreme Elder's room. Elder Zhang hurriedly greeted them one by one. Elder Zhang, what brings you here to this old lady? The Great Elder nodded and asked. Since Elder Zhang was here, he was naturally looking for her, the Great Elder, and not for Sydney. Grand Supreme Elder, that Tang Yun is still kneeling at the entrance of the snowy valley. Elder Zhang said and hesitated. No matter what, she's the sister of the Ice Palace's Palace Master Bingtang. If something happens to her in the snowy valley, then the snowy valley won't be able to escape the blame, right? Elder Zhang, you're the class elder. You're in charge of patrolling the snowy valley. Since you saw her there, why didn't you let her leave? The Grand Supreme Elder asked back. This. Elder Zhang's face reddened. He was kind-hearted and saw that these children weren't easy to deal with. He wanted to help them, so he told the Grand Supreme Elder about it. He didn't expect the Grand Supreme Elder to see through his intentions. However, Elder Zhang still said, Grand Supreme Elder, she's kneeling outside the mountain gate. Strictly speaking, that place isn't the Snowy Valley's territory. Also, according to the rules of the Snowy Valley, we can't attack ordinary people. Tang Yun isn't a practitioner, so I can't force her away. If that's the case, you already said that that place isn't the Snowy Valley's territory. If an ordinary person wants to commit suicide there, what does that have to do with the Snowy Valley? The Grand Supreme Elder said coldly. When she freezes to death, then you can come and report to me. Yes. Then I'll go do my work first. Elder Zhang smiled helplessly and turned to leave. After Elder Zhang left, Sydney frowned and said, Grand Supreme Elder, although Bingtang rejected our suggestion, if her sister really freezes to death here, wouldn't that be inappropriate? She's not an idiot. Since she's here to save people, how could she lose her life? The Grand Supreme Elder said faintly, It's rare for an ordinary person to last one day and one night. But just watch, if she really doesn't want to die, she'll leave tomorrow. But if she really wants to die and doesn't leave by tomorrow, then I'll send her away. Yes. Sydney nodded. The next day, Tang Yun was still kneeling in the snow. She only drank some water and ate some biscuits to replenish her energy, but she still knelt there. Tang Yun's endurance surprised Meng Yao and Yushu. If it was a normal person, wouldn't they turn into a popsicle after being frozen for 1 day and 2 nights? Although Tang Yun was in some pain, it didn't seem to be a big deal. That's amazing. Yushu just gave Tang Yun some biscuits and water and went back to the car, amazed. Yun sis really didn't die. Prophet Shu's prophecy worked. Amazing? I think you're pretty amazing too. Not dying from the heat after so many days. Meng Yao was used to it. Ever since Lin Yi came to the villa, there had been too many weird things happening. First, it was Xiaoxiao's cold body, then Shu's heat conductivity, and now Tang Yun's cold resistance. Oh, that's true. Yushu nodded. Elder Zhang received a report from the patrolling disciples that Tang Yun could still eat and drink. He was shocked, but he was relieved that Tang Yun wasn't dead. But thinking about what the Grand Supreme Elder said yesterday, Elder Zhang decided not to disturb her anymore. The rules of the Snowy Valley were very strict, and Elder Zhang didn't want to trouble the Grand Supreme Elder with the same thing. Since the Grand Supreme Elder said to report to him when Tang Yun died, why would Elder Zhang go to the Grand Supreme Elder before that?
Unless there was something important in the valley that he needed to report to the Grand Supreme Elder.
On the third day, Tang Yun was still kneeling on the snowy ground, with a thick layer of snow on her body. However, to show her sincerity, Tang Yun didn't wipe the snow off her body, allowing it to stay on her body. Only when Yushu brought her food and mineral water would the snow on her hair fall off a little. Elder Zhang, Tang Yun hasn't left yet. She's still kneeling in front of the mountain. A patrolling disciple reported to Elder Zhang. Target equals, _blank. Chapter 1800. Oh, she hasn't left yet? Elder Zhang was startled. It had been 3 days. Even a normal practitioner wouldn't be able to take it, unless they were a water practitioner. But Tang Yun, a normal person, was able to kneel for 3 days.
Elder Zhang found it hard to believe. In these 3 days, did she go back to the carriage to rest?
Reporting to Elder Zhang, we didn't see her go back to rest. With our eyesight, she didn't move at all except for eating a little compressed biscuits and drinking a little mineral water every morning. The patrolling disciple said. Elder Zhang nodded in surprise. This patrolling disciple was also an Earth class master. If he could tell that Tang Yun hadn't gone back to rest, then she hadn't rested at all. However, Tang Yun's endurance surprised him. He wanted to talk to the elder again, but when he remembered what the Grand Elder said, he shook his head and sighed. Then he went back to work. The 4th day, the 5th day, the 10th day. Every day, the patrolling disciple would report to Elder Zhang about Tang Yun's situation. Elder Zhang's initial shock had turned into confusion. Was Tang Yun a normal person? She hadn't frozen to death after so many days? Was she a sky-class master? One had to know that in this snowy valley, even an Earth-class master would need to use some medicine to train. Tang Yun only ate some biscuits and water. How could she be fine? Did she have some kind of treasure on her that could keep her warm? But thinking of this possibility, Elder Zhang shook his head. Tang Yun knew the rules of the snowy valley. Treasures could be bought with money, but they could also be traded with other treasures. If Tang Yun had something like that, she would have taken it out a long time ago. Actually, what Elder Zhang didn't know was that although Tang Yun looked fine, her entire body was frozen. She ate less and less biscuits and water every day because her stomach was frozen. Her digestion was getting slower and slower. Until this morning, Tang Yun didn't eat anything because she wasn't hungry anymore. Meng Yao's face showed deep worry. Tang Yun's situation was getting worse and worse. It looked like Tang Yun could hold on, but as time went on, Tang Yun seemed to be at the end of the road. She could die at any time. But no matter how hard she and Yushu tried to persuade her, Tang Yin insisted on kneeling there, not moving at all. Sigh. Could it be that the people of Snow Valley all have hearts of stone? Meng Yao wasn't just worried about Tang Yun, she was also worried about Lin Yi. Lin Yi's body was getting hotter and hotter. Now, there was no need to turn on the heater in the car. The whole car was warmed by Lin Yi's body temperature. But Meng Yao knew that if this continued, he would reach his limit even with Shu's help. At that time, even the ice spirit fruit would not be able to suppress the heat inside Lin Yi's body. At that time it would be too late. Holy Church, persevere, persevere, I must persevere. This was the cry in Tang Yun's heart. She couldn't feel her legs anymore, and she couldn't feel her body. She could only move her hands a little, and she even felt that her thoughts had become rigid. A few days ago, she could still remember all the sweet moments she had with Lin Yi to cheer herself up, but now, she couldn't even think about it anymore. On the 15th day, Tang Yun felt that she couldn't hold on anymore. Yes, she really couldn't. She felt that her vision was getting blurry, and her brain couldn't think like a normal person anymore. Facing Yushu's question, she could only say, "NN," to show that she was still alive. But Tang Yun herself knew that she was probably going to die soon. Was this what it felt like before death? Tang Yun, on the other hand, didn't seem to feel the pain at all. Slowly, her consciousness started to blur, and her entire body started to relax. It was as if the soul had left its shell, and she felt like her body was floating in the air. At this moment, the scene in front of her changed from blurry to clear. Tang Yun was surprised to find that she was standing at the highest point of the valley. At this moment, she was looking down at the entire valley. She was at the center of the valley, with the majestic mountain gate, the steep cliffs, the snowy ground, and the warm sunlight. All of these seemed to form a beautiful picture, and Tang Yun had a strange feeling in her heart, as if she had melded into the picture. Tang Yun took a step forward and slowly walked in the air. The snow fell around her, but it seemed like it didn't touch her at all. Instead, it melted the moment it touched her body. At that moment, Tang Yun felt like she was a goddess. Everything in the valley seemed to be born for her. She reached out her hand, and the snow in front of her turned into a small whirlpool, circling between her white hands as if it was performing something for her, trying to please her. Her stiff body seemed to have disappeared at this moment. She couldn't feel the bone-chilling cold anymore. The snow didn't seem to affect her at all. Instead, the sunlight in the sky gave Tang Yun a warm and comfortable feeling. Was this the last radiance of the setting sun before death? Tang Yun thought about it. Many people would see their soul leave their body before they died, floating far away. That was what the ghost story said. Many people who were saved from the brink of death felt the same way before they died. But whether it was as comfortable as it was now, Tang Yun wasn't sure. She felt a sense of bliss in her heart, and this feeling grew stronger and stronger as time passed. In a trance, Tang Yun felt that the tall and majestic entrance to the valley suddenly became smaller and smaller, and the cliff on the other side of the valley became nothing in her eyes. At this moment, she seemed to have become the master of this place, the ruler of this place. Even the Grand Elder and the Valley Master. At this moment, Tang Yun's heart didn't have the fear from before. This was a very wonderful feeling. She was no longer that insignificant girl from before, but had become a powerful goddess. Tang Yun reached out her hand again. She could clearly feel that the snow valley's wind and snow seemed to have become part of her. She casually waved her hand, and the wind and snow followed her movements. Chapter 1801. Snowy Valley's shocked Tang Yun closed her eyes, enjoying this moment of warmth, this moment of happiness, this moment of beauty. It was said that people would feel happiness at the moment of death. This was probably what it felt like right now, right? Although Tang Yun closed her eyes, she seemed to be able to sense the situation around her. It was as if everything in this snowy valley was clearly in her mind. It was as if she was the valley, and the valley was her. The valley, the snow, the sunlight, they were all a part of her. With a wave of her hand or a step, the wind and snow around her would resonate with her. In the valley, there was an elder meeting. Today was the last day of Elder Zhang's shift. According to the rules, she had to summarize the work of the past month and hand it over to the next elder on duty. In the Snow Valley, there was a system where the elders were on duty. Every elder was on duty for a month to deal with the affairs of the valley. Only when the elders were unable to make a decision would they ask the Valley Master and the Grand Elder. In this way, not only did it reduce the workload of the Valley Master and the elders on the stage, it also allowed them to have enough time to cultivate. It also allowed the other elders who were not on duty to cultivate in peace. Of course, this was also the special situation of the Snow Valley, because the Snow Valley relied on the sale and exchange of heavenly treasures to survive. If it was any other ancient sect, even if the Palace Lord was fully in charge of the sect's affairs, he would not be as busy as the Snow Valley. After all, just like the Ice Palace, they didn't have any contact with the outside world. Even if it was a trial, it would only be held once every few years. Bing Tang had to deal with some normal matters, but it didn't affect her training. This is what I've been dealing with for the past month. Speaking up to this point, Elder Zhang changed the topic and said to the Grand Supreme Elder, "Grand Supreme Elder, there's one more thing I want to report." "Speak." The Grand Elder said. "The sect master's sister hasn't left yet." Elder Zhang's face turned strange as he said that. How did Tang Yun survive until now? What? Hasn't left yet? The Grand Elder froze. She said that she would report to her after Tang Yun froze to death, but she was just saying it casually. From her point of view, Tang Yun wouldn't be able to stand the cold for 2 days and would leave on her own. Elder Zhang didn't report to her, meaning that Tang Yun didn't freeze to death and left. Otherwise, How could a normal person kneel in the snow for more than 10 days? Wouldn't she be dead already?
Hearing that Tang Yun was still kneeling in front of the gate, the Grand Elder's expression became strange.
She hasn't died yet? No. But according to the patrolling disciples, I'm afraid she won't be able to hold on for another 2 days. Since yesterday, she hasn't been eating anymore. Elder Zhang recounted everything that had happened in the past half a month. Elder Zhang could only use this opportunity to tell the Grand Elder about Tong Yin's situation. Even if he sympathized with her and wanted to help, he didn't have the chance. After he finished, Elder Zhang added, Grand Elder, it seems like Tang Yin really wants to die. Even if we don't care about her, she is still the sister of the sect master of the Ice Palace, right? You're saying that she hasn't warmed up in the carriage for the past 15 days? She's been kneeling in the snow, eating and sleeping?
The Grand Elder was shocked.
It's like this. The patrolling disciples saw it with their own eyes. Elder Zhang said,
Let's go, we'll go take a look. The Grand Elder frowned as if she was thinking about something. Grand Elder, are you touched by her persistence? Sydney was surprised. Before, the Grand Elder told her to cultivate her heart, but now she started to sympathize with Tang Yun. Touched? The Grand Elder shook his head. The Grand Elder's answer stunned Elder Zhang, Sydney, and the other elders. If he wasn't touched, then why would he go take a look? Was it really because of rock candy that he was afraid that Tang Yun would die here? 15 days. Don't you think it's weird? The Supreme Elder looked at the puzzled crowd and said, Before you advance to the heaven rank, without taking any energy pills, who could kneel in the snow for 15 days without dying? This. Everyone shook their heads when they heard the Supreme Elder's words. Before advancing to the heaven rank, even an earth rank powerhouse wouldn't be able to kneel in a world of ice and snow for so long, let alone an ordinary person. Wasn't it like this during the Ice Palace trial? Other than Lin Yi, which of the mystic masters who came to participate in the trial didn't bring enough elixirs? Although energy pills weren't rare, they could replenish energy to fight hunger. Even Yu Bing was the same. Lin Yi was a special case. He had the jade pendant as a source of energy, so he didn't need those pills to maintain his stamina. It was also because of this reason that Aunt Qing and Bingtang thought it was weird. You mean to say, her constitution? Elder Zhang's heart skipped a beat as he calmly asked. There's an old saying, something must be wrong. The Grand Elder said, since you can't do it, how did she do it? But, Grand Elder, didn't you check already? There's nothing special about her body. She doesn't even have a normaline body, let alone a fake ice heart jade bone. Sydney asked curiously. That's right, she isn't. The Grand Elder said, if she really is like what she said, that she is Bingtang's sister, do you think Bingtang didn't check secretly? That's true, then you mean? Sydney didn't understand. The founder of the sect recorded 3 types of body types that are suitable for Snow Valley. The Grand Elder said slowly, among them, the rarest is the Yin body type, which is the inheritor of the Ice Palace. However, the Yin body type is more suitable for the Ice Palace. But for us, it's useless. It's not as suitable as the second type, the Ice Heart Jade Bone type, because the founder of Snow Valley had this type of body type, so she created the emotionless chant to cultivate an Ice Heart. Although the Yin body type has more cold energy than the Ice Heart Jade Bone type, it can't be used to its full potential in Snow Valley. I'm afraid this is also why Bingtang rejected us. Because it's more suitable for the inheritor of the Yin body type to stay in the Ice Palace. Hashtag. Chapter 1802. Inheritance of the Snowy Valley. Hearing the Great Elder's words, everyone nodded to show their agreement. The third kind of body constitution is the ordinary Yin body constitution. Little Li and I have this kind of body constitution, but my body constitution is not as good as Little Li's. It can only be said to be sloppy and ordinary. Being able to cultivate to the peak of heaven rank is purely by luck. I'm afraid it's impossible to cultivate to the peak of heaven rank and cross that legendary road. The Great Elder smiled bitterly and continued, now, let's talk about the Ice Heart Jade Bone Body Constitution. Apart from the normal Ice Heart Jade Bone Body Constitution, the Ice Heart Jade Bone Body Constitution can also be divided into 2 branches. One is the fake Ice Heart Jade Bone Body Constitution, which is the rock sugar body constitution. This kind of body constitution is not pure, but with the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill, it can bring out the effect of the Ice Heart Jade Bone body constitution. And the other is the hidden Ice Heart Jade Bone body constitution.
When the Great Elder mentioned this kind of body constitution, Sydney's expression changed slightly. She thought of a possibility, and then her eyes widened in disbelief. But the other Great Elders were at a loss, because the only people who could come into contact with the ancestors' notes were those who had practiced the Heartless Secrets mental cultivation method. These people were the Great Elder, the Valley Master, and their direct disciples. As for the others, although they also practiced the water and fog mental cultivation methods, as long as they had an ordinary water body constitution, it was fine. There was no need for those special body constitutions, so it was impossible for these people to check the ancestors' notes. The hidden Ice Heart Jade Bone Body Constitution is a kind of body constitution that is purer than the Ice Heart Jade Bone Body Constitution. The ancestor had this kind of body constitution. The Great Elder explained slowly, this kind of body constitution, as the name suggests, is usually a hidden body constitution. Not to mention us, even the ancestor himself couldn't recognize it. This kind of physique could only be found by chance and not sought. Only after experiencing an extremely cold environment, when the body's potential reached its limit, could it suddenly be released. Back then, the founder of the sect also came to the Snow Valley. Under the harsh weather of the Snow Valley, at the moment when his life's potential was at its limit, he unintentionally activated his hidden Ice Heart Jade Bone physique. He comprehended the inheritance of the Snow Valley and discovered an ancient relic in the Snow Valley. Then, he stepped on the path of cultivation and founded the Snow Valley sect. Before that, the founder was just an ordinary water cultivator from that place. His strength was only at the early phase of the golden class. That means Tang Yun might be. Elder Zhang's eyes widened in disbelief. I'm just guessing and suspecting that ordinary people would have died a long time ago. Why didn't she die? The Supreme Elder said, as for whether it's this kind of physique, I really don't know. Huh. As soon as the Grand Elder's voice fell, he felt that something was wrong. The expressions of the other elders and Xueli, the Valley Master, also changed slightly at this moment. Everyone felt a powerful fluctuation of true qi, and it was the kind of true strength. It was as if the entire heaven and earth spiritual qi in the Snow Valley had been mobilized at this moment. This feeling made everyone feel extremely shocked. Even when Sydney broke through to Heaven Stage and the Grand Elder broke through to the peak of the late stage of Heaven Stage, they did not cause such a huge phenomenon. In the next moment, the bell of the Snow Valley was rung. This was the bell that the patrolling disciples would only ring when the Snow Valley encountered an emergency. However, this bell had not been rung for many years. This was because the things that the Snow Valley had encountered over the years had never been serious enough to ring the bell. Let's go! The Grand Elder shouted and flew out. All the elders in Sydney were also Heaven Stage experts. At this moment, they all followed the Grand Elder out of the meeting hall and came outside. In the Snow Valley, all the heaven and earth spiritual qi rushed towards one direction, including the cold wind and snow. At this moment, they also rushed towards that direction. This kind of strange situation. It was no wonder that the disciples in the Snow Valley would ring the bell. This was because the development of the situation had exceeded their imagination and control. When the Grand Elder saw this strange phenomenon, she immediately flew towards the center of the heaven and earth spiritual qi. Behind her, the others also followed closely. At this time, this phenomenon not only shocked the people of the Snow Valley, but also Chu Mengyao and Shu. Because they saw that Tang Yun, who was originally covered in snow, suddenly stood up from the snow. The snow on her body disappeared in an instant. Tang Yun's body also emitted an untouchable holy light. At this moment, Tang Yun was like a snow fairy. Her body slowly left the ground and stretched her body under the sunlight. The snowflakes from the sky didn't fall on her anymore. Instead, they circled around her body and formed a beautiful whirlpool. Holy shit, Yun sis ascended in the day. Yushu looked at the clean Tang Yun in the sky and said in shock, Prophet Shu is really awesome, the colder Yun sis gets. Chu Mengyao was speechless after hearing Yushu's words. What nonsense, ascending in the day. Did she read too much Xianxia? But after Yushu said that the colder Yun got, Mengyao didn't get angry at all. This strange phenomenon, Chu Mengyao didn't know whether it was good or bad. She didn't know what would happen next, but no matter what, Tang Yun didn't seem to be frozen to death. This was what Mengyao was most relieved about. In a blink of an eye, the Grand Elder came to the center of the whirlpool formed by the heaven and earth spiritual qi. She looked at Tang Yun in the sky in shock and said after a while,
There's no mistake. There's no mistake. It really is the hidden heart of Ice Jade body. Really? Although Sydney and the elders were also shocked by the scene in front of them, after hearing the Grand Elder's words, there was a trace of joy in their tone. Of course it's true. The Grand Elder nodded. Plus, when she awakened the hidden heart of Ice Jade body, she received the inheritance of the Snow Valley and understood the essence of the Snow Valley's heaven and earth spiritual chi. She can use the water element's heaven and earth spiritual chi as she pleases. This is the characteristic of the inheritor. Doesn't that mean that our Snow Valley also has an inheritor? Xueli was very excited after hearing this. All this time, the inheritor of the Snow Valley had been the most important thing to her and the elders. Especially after hearing that the Ice Palace had found an inheritor, the Snow Valley was even more anxious. This was why the entire Ice Palace was so shocked and excited. #target = blank. Chapter 1803. Attitude change. Although the Ice Palace and Snow Valley's founders were from the same lineage, both of them were from that place, and both of them had flourished before. They were both one of the 4 ancient sects, and one of the leading sects of the Sky Class meeting. But before the Sky Class meeting without an inheritor, they would be on the path of decline. Seeing the Ice Palace pick up a treasure, Snow Valley could only feel envy and jealousy. But at this moment, everyone was truly happy and joyful. What the Ice Palace had, Snow Valley had too. Of course, they were too excited, and never considered whether or not Tang Yun would stay and become a part of Snow Valley. Just as everyone was getting excited, Tang Yun naturally didn't know that she had attracted the attention of all the big shots of the Snow Valley. At this moment, with her as the center, more and more spiritual energy was being attracted to her, gathering around her body. Mengyao and Yushu, naturally, saw the Grand Elder and Elder Zhang, as well as Sydney and a few people they didn't know. They were worried about Tang Yun, not knowing what had happened to her. They wanted to get off the car to ask the Grand Elder and the others. May I ask what's going on? Did Yun's sis ascend to the heavens? Yushu asked the Grand Elder. She was the oldest here, and had the highest position. Naturally, Yushu would ask her first. The Grand Elder was startled. She was too excited before, and didn't even notice Yushu's approach. Luckily, it wasn't an enemy. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. The only thing that could make a Sky Class master so focused was the situation in front of them. The Grand Elder made a shushing gesture at Yushu, afraid that she would affect Tang Yun's acceptance of the inheritance. This was a once-in-a-lifetime event. Even if Xuegu found a cultivator with a fake Icy Heart Jade Bone physique who had consumed the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill, or even found a cultivator with a real Icy Heart Jade Bone physique, to accept the inheritance, they would have to go through arduous cultivation and personal enlightenment before they could accept the inheritance. One had to know that the inheritance was a type of resonance between the body and the Snow Valley. It didn't mean that one could accept the inheritance whenever and wherever they wanted. Although one's physique was suitable, one would definitely be able to receive the inheritance. However, the exact time of receiving the inheritance depended on one's own comprehension. It wasn't something that could be achieved just by thinking about it. Tang Yun's hidden Ice Heart Jade Bone physique was a rare occurrence. Only the founder of the sect had such a miraculous encounter, so the Grand Elder was afraid that Yushu would affect Tang Yun's acceptance of the inheritance. What's going on? Is Yun's sis in danger? She's been kneeling for 15 days now. Can't you guys give us an ice spirit fruit? Yushu asked. You. The Grand Elder's eyes widened as he thought to himself. I told you not to speak, so why are you still speaking? She was so angry that she wanted to slap Yushu to death. If this ruined the inheritance, then the Grand Elder wouldn't even have time to cry. But then she remembered the relationship between Yushu and Tang Yun, and forcibly stopped the thought of killing Yushu. If she killed Yushu, then Tang Yun would become a huge enemy of the Snow Valley. She wouldn't stay in the Snow Valley anymore, and would go to the Ice Palace to train and come back for revenge. And so the Grand Elder suppressed her anger and spoke to Yushu in a low voice. She's fine, don't say anything. I'll give you as many ice spirit fruits as you want. I'll give them all to you, but you have to shut up first. Oh! Yushu let out a breath of relief after hearing the Grand Elder's words. It was fortunate that the Grand Elder didn't slap Shu to death. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be the Ice Palace. That sect wouldn't just let this go. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was a little surprised at the Grand Elder's sudden change in attitude. She looked at the goddess-like Tang Yun in the sky, deep in thought. The sun slowly moved towards the west and slowly set, forming a beautiful glow in the sky.
Tang Yun bathed in the glow, her body glowing with a pure and bright light. No one moved. Shu heard that the Grand Elder could give Lin Yi the ice spirit fruits, and she stopped as well. As far as she was concerned, the Grand Elder, the most powerful person in the sect, wouldn't lie. If she said that Tang Yun's sis was fine, then she must be fine. The snowy valley at dusk was exceptionally beautiful. The white snow was reflected red, but no one was in the mood to appreciate this beautiful scenery. The gorgeous sunset seemed to attract everyone's attention. They tried their best to make the sunset more beautiful, but it was in vain. Because everyone's eyes were on Tang Yun, and at this moment, Tang Yun was the most beautiful. The sun finally set. When the last ray of gold disappeared from the horizon, Tang Yun slowly landed on the ground. The spiritual energy around her gradually dissipated, and all the strange phenomena disappeared at this moment. Tang Yun slowly stepped on the snow and slowly opened her eyes. She murmured bitterly, "Am I dead? Is this heaven?" Phew! At this moment, the Grand Elder and the other elders, including Sydney, let out a long breath. It seemed that Tang Yun had finished accepting the inheritance. At this moment, she had understood the entire inheritance of the Snow Valley, and had become the inheritor of the mist element. "What do you think? What did you understand?" the Grand Elder asked urgently. Tang Yun froze, and looked at the row of people in front of her. There was the Grand Elder, Elder Zhang, and Sydney, as well as some people she didn't know. Most importantly, Meng Yao, Shu, and Lin Yi were all there. Were they all dead? This thought flashed through Tang Yun's mind, and she immediately shook her head to deny it. This was impossible. How could everyone be dead? Since everyone was alive, then she wasn't in heaven, which meant that she wasn't dead. "I'm not dead." Tang Yun looked at everyone in front of her, surprised. "Sister Yun, not only are you not dead, but you've ascended. You're so cold." Yushu said happily. "Shu, don't talk nonsense." Meng Yao frowned, and stopped Yushu from talking nonsense. She turned to Tang Yun. Yun, you're not dead, but something strange happened to you. The Grand Elder should be able to explain it." Although Meng Yao could vaguely guess that what happened to Tang Yun had something to do with the Grand Elder's change of attitude, she wasn't sure what exactly happened. Chapter 1804. Snowy Valley. "I didn't say anything. It's like I'm strong." Yushu said. "Grand Elder?" Tang Yun wanted to ask about the strange things that happened to her, but she suddenly remembered the purpose of her trip. She suppressed her curiosity and said, "Grand Elder, Valley Master Shui, Elder Zhang, and all the elders, I beg you, please give me an ice spirit fruit first. I will definitely give you 1 billion yuan." Tang Yun didn't know what to say. With that, Tang Yun was about to kneel on the ground. After all, it was a rare chance for Tang Yun to meet the Grand Elder and Valley Master Shui. If she missed this chance, she wouldn't have the chance to talk to them anymore. "Don't." The Grand Elder quickly held Tang Yun. She wanted Tang Yun to stay in Snowy Valley. How could she let Tang Yun beg for something so small? The Grand Elder supported Tang Yun and said generously, "The ice spirit fruit is not a problem, but before that, let's talk about something else." "Something else?" Tang Yun paused, not understanding what he meant. "Everyone, please follow us to the Snowy Valley's meeting hall." The Grand Elder was thinking about how to make Tang Yun stay, but it seemed like using the ice spirit fruit as the price to force Tang Yun to stay wasn't impossible. Although this was a bit despicable, it was different from the ice palace keeping Xiao. Xiao's body was special, and she needed to stay in the ice palace to be healed. Tang Yun, on the other hand, was different. She was here to ask for medicine, and one ice spirit fruit was only 1 billion. Using 1 billion to exchange for an heir of Snowy Valley, it was a great deal. But despicable was just despicable. The Grand Elder trained in heartless arts, and she had no sympathy. In her eyes, there were only benefits and strength. So although she was polite to Tang Yun, that was only if Tang Yun could stay. If Tang Yun didn't agree, then there was no point in talking about the ice spirit fruit. "Okay." Tang Yun nodded after some hesitation. She didn't know why the Grand Elder paid so much attention to her, but it must have something to do with what happened before. No matter what happened before, it was a good thing. The few of them arrived at the meeting hall of the Snow Valley. Under the astonished gazes of the Snow Valley disciples, the door of the meeting hall was tightly shut. One should know that the conference hall was a forbidden area for everyone other than the great elders, elders, and valley masters. Now that these 4 strangers were allowed to enter the conference hall, it was a huge rumor. However, the Grand Elder did not feel that she was breaking any rules. If Tang Yun stayed in the Snow Valley, she could even give up the position of the Grand Elder to Tang Yun. In the eyes of these heaven-rank experts, these positions were nothing. Furthermore, at their level of cultivation, no one would be jealous of Tang Yun. This was because one's physique was not something that could be obtained through jealousy. At this level, everyone knew that if one's physique was not good, no matter how hard they trained, they would not be able to advance as fast as someone with a good physique. So if Tang Yun joined Snowy Valley, then no matter how strong she was, she would still be a part of Snowy Valley. They would only be happy. Of course, if she joined Ice Palace, then they would only be jealous of her. Everyone took their seats in the meeting hall. Tang Yun was a little fearful. This was the first time she had seen such a scene. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, had seen a lot of things, so they weren't afraid. This old one is very clear about your goal. You want the Ice Spirit Holy Fruit? No problem. This old one can give it to you. Moreover, it won't cost you a single cent. I can also help you concoct a prescription that can be used together with the Ice Spirit Holy Fruit to cure your cultivation deviation. Thank you, Grand Elder. Tang Yun was a little surprised after hearing the Grand Elder's words, but she was still happy. After all, Lin Yi could finally be saved. Don't thank me first. I'm not finished yet. The Grand Elder said faintly. What I'm agreeing to. There are conditions. Listen to them first, then decide if you want to trade or not. Grand Elder, please speak. Tang Yun's heart skipped a beat. There was no free lunch in this world, but what conditions did the Grand Elder want? He didn't even want money? You must stay in Snowy Valley. The Grand Elder looked at Tang Yun and said word by word. Stay here, become a practitioner, and I will fulfill my promise. Me? Stay here? Tang Yun wasn't too surprised after hearing the Grand Elder's words. She had already guessed something. If it wasn't for that strange phenomenon, the Grand Elder wouldn't even show up, let alone agree to these conditions. The reason why she agreed to these conditions was probably related to the phenomenon that appeared on her body. Could it be that she had unknowingly gotten some benefits? That's right. The Grand Elder said. You will stay in Snowy Valley and become a part of Snowy Valley. This is the condition. Grand Elder, you're saying that I can train? Tang Yun asked after some hesitation. That's right. The Grand Elder nodded. You will stay here to train, of course. Then, what level can I become? Tang Yun was a little moved. Yes, she was really moved. If she could become a master, then she wouldn't be a flower vase anymore. She wouldn't need Lin Yi to protect her all the time. At that time, she'd be able to be like Xiao, staying by his side forever. Only a practitioner could extend their lifespan. This had always been Tang Yun's dream. Level? Haha, at least Sky Class Late Phase Peak. The Grand Elder smiled faintly. If possible, I will surpass this level and become an even stronger master. Sky Class Late Phase Peak. Tang Yun's mouth opened in shock. She had always told Lin Yi that she wanted to train, but she never thought that he would become a Sky Class one day, at least Sky Class Late Phase Peak. But Tang Yun wasn't stupid. She hesitated and asked, Did something happen to me before? That's right. To tell you the truth, you have already accepted the inheritance of the Snow Valley and have become the inheritor of the Mist Element. The cultivation speed of an inheritor is extremely fast, and our Snow Valley will gather the resources of the entire valley to help you collect heavenly treasures to increase your strength. The Grand Elder said, Once you become a Sky Class Late Phase Peak, your status will be the same as mine. You will be the Grand Elder of Snowy Valley. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1805. Tang Yun's face was a little flushed from the excitement. The Grand Elder's words shocked her. She didn't think that she'd become an inheritor. Didn't that mean she was on the same level as Xiao? If you agree, then our deal will go into effect immediately. The Grand Elder said, Otherwise I won't stop you. Tang Yun smiled bitterly. The Grand Elder might have said that, but did she have a choice? What was her purpose in coming here? Now that there was a chance to save Lin Yi and train at the same time, why wouldn't she agree? How could I not agree now that things have come to this? Tang Yun looked at Meng Yao and Yushu. She didn't want them to leave, and it'd be hard to see Lin Yi again if she stayed in Snowy Valley. Who knew when they'd meet again? But at the same time, this was a rare opportunity. If Tang Yun missed it, she wouldn't be able to save Lin Yi. Even if that didn't happen, she wouldn't want to miss this opportunity. After all, becoming a practitioner had always been her dream. However, although the people present had a certain degree of confidence that Tang Yun would agree, after hearing Tang Yun's affirmative answer, their faces were still filled with joy, revealing a relaxed expression. Heart. Since you've agreed, then I'll open up the ancestral hall and accept a disciple on behalf of the founder. The Grand Elder said. Your constitution is extraordinary, and only the founder has the same constitution as you. I'll accept a disciple on behalf of the founder, and while you're my disciple in name, you'll be the Grand Elder of Snowy Valley after you finish your apprenticeship. You'll be on the same level as me and Li. Tang Yun's face flushed red from excitement. She didn't expect that Xiao would get such good treatment in the Ice Palace, and she would get the same treatment in Snowy Valley. She couldn't help but ask, Grand Elder, may I ask? What constitution do I have? And what happened to me before? Didn't you check my constitution before? There's nothing special about it? Your physique is the hidden icy heart jade bone physique. Forget about me. Even if the founder of the sect was here, he might not be able to detect it. As the Grand Elder spoke, she told Tang Yun about Tang Yun's physique and what had happened before. Now that Tang Yun had agreed to join the Snow Valley, she wouldn't hide it from Tang Yun anymore. Tang Yun was shocked after hearing the Grand Elder's words. She didn't know that she had this kind of physique. It could only be activated under special circumstances. No wonder it wasn't detected before. If it wasn't for the coincidence, Tang Yun wouldn't have known that she had this unique physique for the rest of her life. I told you, Yun's sis gets stronger the longer she freezes. Her special constitution will come out. Yushu said. Holy Church, you could say that. The Grand Elder nodded in agreement. Indeed, this sort of constitution can only be awakened in an environment as cold as this. Then, how long will it take for me to graduate? After that, can I go back? Tang Yun was most concerned about this question. If she stayed here, how long would it take for her to see Lin Yi? What do you mean by going back? The Grand Elder asked in return. How long will it take for me to see him freely? Tang Yun pointed at Lin Yi beside Yushu. See him? I'm afraid that's impossible. The Grand Elder said. Why? Tang Yun was shocked and quickly asked. I remember that you said that the two of you are lovers, right? The Supreme Elder asked. Yes. Tang Yun nodded fearfully. The icy heart jade bone cultivates an icy heart, and the mental cultivation method you cultivate is also called the Heartless Codex mental cultivation method. The so-called Heartless Codex mental cultivation method is heartless. If you have feelings in your heart, it will be a huge hindrance to your practice. The Great Elder said, so in order to let you smoothly cultivate to the peak of heaven rank late phase, I will give you a dose of medicine made with senseless grass, and from then on, you will forget him. In your heart, this person will no longer exist. Tang Yun couldn't help but exclaim after hearing the Grand Elder's words. She never thought that if she stayed here, she would never be able to see Lin Yi again, and she would have to use the grass of forgetfulness to forget Lin Yi. Don't be surprised. Before, I wasn't moved by your prayer at all. This is also because of the heartless formula. The Grand Elder said faintly. There are gains and losses. Think about it yourself. Tang Yun's face was filled with pain, and Meng Yao and Yushu were shocked as well. They didn't expect that in order to practice heartless arts, she needed to consume the grass of oblivion, and she had to forget about Lin Yi. To Tang Yun, this was an extremely painful thing. You should have felt it. Little Li and I have a kind of natural momentum that pushes people thousands of miles away. When you get close to us, you will feel a burst of chill. This is the ruthless formula. Highest Elder said. If the Grand Elder didn't mention it, Tang Yun wouldn't have noticed it. But now that the Grand Elder reminded her, Tang Yun remembered that from the first time she met them until now, there was a cold and unapproachable aura around them. This kind of aura made people not want to get close to them. They couldn't help but feel a sense of fear and distance. Can I not take it? Tang Yun asked hesitantly. Although she wanted to save Lin Yi, she didn't want to forget Lin Yi for the rest of her life. If she forgot Lin Yi, What was the point of her practice? Wasn't her biggest dream to become a practitioner so that she wouldn't be a burden to Lin Yi? You have emotions in your heart. If you don't take it, it's not impossible. But it will be very difficult to overcome the demons in your heart. If you are not careful, the emotions and the heartless will intertwine and affect each other. You will go crazy, the Grand Elder said. Even if you don't go crazy, it is still a very painful thing to restrain each other. Of course, you are Bingtong's sister. If you go crazy and ask her for a fire spirit's fruit, she will definitely give it to you. This. Tang Yun hesitated after listening to the Grand Elder's words. She knew that the Grand Elder wasn't trying to scare her, but it was the truth. At her level, it was impossible for her to lie to Tang Yun. Chapter 1806. From the looks of it, if he wanted to save Lin Yi, he would have to stay here. But if he stayed here, he might not be able to practice because of his heart's demon, or even go berserk. That was an outcome that no one wanted to see. Let me think about it. Can I? Tang Yun didn't know what to do. She could only choose to discuss it with Meng Yao and Yushu. Merciless heart. Sure, but you only have 1 day to think about it, the Grand Elder said. Why? Tang Yun paused. Your boyfriend can only last 1 or 2 days. If he doesn't get treated soon, then the fruit won't have any effect. The Grand Elder said. Then, can't we give him the ice spirit fruit first? Tang Yun asked anxiously. Merciless arts naturally, the Grand Elder said faintly. In my dictionary, there is no merciless. If you don't join Shui Gu, then there's no need to talk about it. Tang Yun was sorrowful. She wondered if she would become like the Grand Elder after practicing the merciless arts. At that time, even if Lin Yi saw her, he wouldn't like her anymore, right? After all, who would like a cold and emotionless person? The Grand Elder was a living example. There was a powerful cold aura around her that made people want to stay away from her. It made people not want to get close to her and want to stay far away from her. However, Elder Zhang, who had also practiced other water heart cultivation methods, was not the same. Moreover, he was very kind, which was completely different from Grand Supreme Elder and Shueli. Holy Hall, I'll give you an answer tomorrow morning, is that okay? Tang Yun hesitated. It's okay, the Great Elder said. This is not a problem. In order to make you feel at ease, I can first inject a stream of cold air into his body to help you suppress the fire poison in his body. It will be enough to last until tomorrow night. Thank you, Grand Elder. Tang Yun felt relieved after hearing the Grand Elder's words, and her face showed gratitude. No need to thank me, it's just a deal, the Grand Elder said faintly. Tang Yun opened her mouth but didn't say anything. The Grand Elder was this kind of person. She said it before, she was heartless. The Grand Elder stood up and walked in front of Lin Yi. He placed his hand on Lin Yi's meridians and channeled cold energy into them. Lin Yi's body temperature suddenly dropped. While Tang Yun was amazed, Shu also let out a sigh of relief. She didn't have to help Lin Yi lower his body temperature anymore. Holy Church, all right, there should be no problem before tomorrow night. After the Great Elder finished speaking, he turned to Elder Zhang and instructed, Elder Zhang, take them to the guest room to rest. Yes. Elder Zhang cupped his fists and said. Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu brought Lin Yi and followed Elder Zhang back to the guest room. Elder Zhang bowed to them politely and was about to leave when Tang Yun stopped him. Elder Zhang. Miss Tang, is there anything else? Although Elder Zhang's attitude towards Tang Yun and the others was not bad, it was obvious that he was trying to curry favor with them now. But it was no wonder, if Tang Yun really stayed in the Snow Valley, she would become an existence similar to the Great Elder, becoming one of the 3 leaders of the Snow Valley. How could Elder Zhang not be polite? Elder Zhang, I want to ask, does the heartless arts really have to be heartless? Tang Yun didn't dare to ask the Grand Elder before, but she was more familiar with Elder Zhang now. It has always been like this. The highest elder thought for a moment, then nodded and said, those who have cultivated the heartless formula have always been lonely until they die, dedicating all their lives to the Snow Valley. No one has ever gotten married or had children. Ah! Although Tang Yun had guessed this result, she was still a little disappointed after hearing Elder Zhang's confirmation. Who created this heartless arts? What a scam. Miss Tang, please be quiet. Elder Zhang was startled and smiled bitterly. Miss Tang, the heartless spell. is a mantra created by the founder of the sect. It is the treasure of the Snow Valley. Although you are someone that the Great Elder thinks highly of, it is inevitable that you will be punished. The founder? Tang Yun paused. The one who has the same body type as me. Yes. Elder Zhang nodded. The founder of the sect was enlightened here and discovered the ancient ruins. He combined the chant left behind in the ancient ruins and created the art of Heartless. I have to say, the founder was a powerful person. He was able to create an ancient sect with the strength of an early-phase golden class. That's amazing. Tang Yun was impressed as well. Although she had the same body type, she wouldn't be able to create such a powerful technique if she was in his shoes. But Tang Yun didn't understand. The founder was so powerful. Why did he create the Heartless arts? I'm not a practitioner, but from what I know, there are many powerful water and ice element techniques. Bing Tang's sister's technique is also very powerful, but it won't affect her marriage. It's just that she can't lose her virginity before accepting the heritage. Sigh. Elder Zhang sighed and said, "This will have to start from a legend. Although there are no detailed records in our Snow Valley's journal, but according to the word of mouth of the elders, there is a poignant love story." Love story? Tang Yun was surprised. She didn't think that the founder was a heartless person. There was love? That's right. Since you're about to become a disciple of the valley and the future Grand Elder, it's fine to let you know about it. The elders all know about it. Elder Zhang didn't try to hide it, and said directly, "You should know that the Snow Valley and the Ice Palace belong to the same sect. The Snow Valley cultivates the fog-type mental cultivation method derived from the water type, while the Ice Palace cultivates the ice-type mental cultivation method derived from the water type. The founders of these two sects were actually a pair of senior and junior sisters." Ah! Tang Yun and the others widened their eyes at Elder Zhang's words. They didn't think that the Snow Valley and the Ice Palace had such a relationship. Although they are fellow disciples, and their relationship is quite good, they fell in love with the same man. This good thing has become a bad thing. Elder Zhang smiled bitterly. Therefore, the Ice Palace and the Snow Valley have a deep relationship. They support each other, but also compete and suppress each other. This is the situation caused by the two founders. Then they could both marry that man. One would be the main wife and the other the small wife. Wouldn't that be great? How stupid. Yushu said. Chapter 1807. Meng Yao and Tang Yun looked at each other. If it was that easy to solve the problem back then, would there still be any problems? As expected, Elder Zhang shook his head and said helplessly, "Although that's the case, this pair of senior and junior sisters are both proud people. They don't want to share their love with others. Perhaps it's because they are senior and junior sisters that they don't want to put down their pride and don't want to give in." The miss opened her mouth slightly, but she didn't know why, but she thought of herself. She had a feeling that Elder Zhang was implying something, but she knew that Elder Zhang wouldn't do that because he didn't know about her, Shu, and Tang Yun at all. Then, did she like Lin Yi? Or was she proud and didn't want to share with others? The thought made Meng Yao break out in a cold sweat. What was wrong with her heart? But before Meng Yao could think it through, Elder Zhang continued. Master Ice and Master Snow were that man's confidants back in the day, and that man didn't know how to choose when he was faced with two equally talented and beautiful girls. Chapter 1808. But, at least we're happier than Master Snow and Master Ice back then. I'm very happy, and so is Xiao. Tang Yun shook her head firmly. So, I don't want to use that senseless grass. But, if you don't use it, then there'll be a demon in your heart, and you'll go crazy. It'll be very difficult, and you'll be tortured by love. Elder Zhang said, so Master Snow made the senseless grass for her heir to use. Then Master Snow didn't use the senseless grass, but didn't she have the heartless formula too? Tang Yun asked, if she took the senseless grass, how could she still remember the grudges from back then? This. Elder Zhang paused for a moment before smiling bitterly. Ancestor Shui was a genius with a unique physique. She is not someone we can compare with. However, Elder Zhang suddenly stopped and looked at Tang Yun. He didn't know what to say. Yes, the founder of the sect had a unique physique, and Tang Yun was the same. This kind of hidden ice heart jade bone physique had never appeared since the founding of the Snow Valley. So, if Master Snow didn't need to use the senseless grass, then Tang Yun didn't need to either? However, Elder Zhang didn't dare to make any promises. He just advised, Miss Tang, think about it. You have mastered the heartless formula, and your whole body exudes an aura that makes people stay away from you. Even if he wakes up, will he still be with you? Look at Valley Master Shui and the Grand Elder, they're both like that, naturally giving off a sense of fear and respect. Tang Yun thought about it and went silent. Elder Zhang was right. This was what Tang Yun was worried about. With the heartless formula, would Lin Yi still like her? Even if he still had feelings for her, after being with her for a long time, he'd naturally stay away from her. Tang Yun felt a little sad. Lin Yi could be saved, and she could become a practitioner, but she'd never be with Lin Yi again. Could this be fate? Master Snow and Master Ice were like this, and now it was the same for her and Xiaoxiao? Would the tragedy of so many years ago happen again? Or, is this a law of cause and effect? All right, think about it yourself. I'll take my leave first. Elder Zhang had said what he needed to say, and the rest was up to Tang Yun to think about. It'd be great if she could figure it out, but there was nothing she could do if she couldn't. Looking at Elder Zhang's back, Tang Yun didn't say anything to stop him. There was no point for Elder Zhang to stay. He had already done what he could. Yao Shu, what should I do? Tang Yin hugged her head in pain as she looked at Lin Yi, her eyes filled with longing. I don't want to forget him. I really don't. I didn't spend a lot of time with him, but I was happy, really happy. I want to remember him forever. Sigh. Meng Yao sighed. To be honest, she sympathized with Tang Yun, but at this moment, Tang Yun didn't have a choice. Either he stayed in the Snowy Valley to save Lin Yi, or he left the Snowy Valley and Lin Yi would be in danger. How about, you don't use it? Yushu suggested carefully. Elder Zhang also said that with the heartless arts, would Lin Yi still like me? He might hate me and hide from me. If I don't use it, wouldn't it be even more painful? Tang Yun said hesitantly. Shu scratched her head. She didn't know what to say. The ancestors' heartless arts is such a trap. Meng Yao said. She went to harm others after she broke up with her love. You can't say that. Perhaps, it was only under that kind of painful state of mind that the heartless formula could be created. It became the treasure of the Snow Valley. Tang Yun said. But, she probably didn't think that this would happen, because all the people with this arts don't have a lover. They've been here since they were young, and they didn't have the chance to love, so to them it's nothing. You're right. It's rare to see someone like you who didn't grow up. Meng Yao nodded. But you have such a strong body. No wonder you can withstand the cold. In the summer, your body is very cool, and you can lower Shu's temperature. Yeah, I'm the exact opposite of her. Tang Yun smiled. In order to lighten the atmosphere, she joked, Shu is the exact opposite of me. Could she be an inheritor? Who knows? Maybe he's the inheritor of the fire element. Ha! That's true? Shu is the exact opposite of you. She can withstand the heat but she's afraid of it. You can withstand the cold but you're afraid of the cold. Meng Yao was surprised to find this strange phenomenon. How is that possible? Yushu's face changed slightly. She returned to normal and said dumbly, how can it be so coincidental? If it's such a coincidence that all the people around Shield Bro are inheritors, wouldn't that be amazing? I'm a fire elemental, and Yun Sis is an ice elemental. We can play ice and fire with Shield Bro. Haha. You can play with Xiaoxiao. As for me, Tang Yun smiled bitterly and thought of the heartless arts. Shu, what nonsense are you talking about? It seems like you're asking for a beating today. Meng Yao glared at Shu when she saw Tang Yun's sad face. This girl really knew how to rub it in. I'm not the one who said it. You guys are the one who said I'm a fire elemental. Yushu said, feeling wronged. Then you're fine now, aren't you? Shut up. Meng Yao said. Oh. Yushu shut her mouth obediently. No matter how Meng Yao and Yushu tried to persuade Tang Yun, they couldn't do anything about it. After all, if they let Tang Yun stay, it would be painful for her. If they didn't let her stay, what would happen to Lin Yi? So only Tang Yun could make this decision. No one else could interfere. One night passed just like that. Although Tang Yun had been hungry and tired for many days, after receiving the inheritance, it was as if she had been reborn. There was an indescribable aura around her, and even though she didn't sleep for the whole night, she didn't feel tired or sleepy at all. Instead, she was very energetic.
The only regret was that her eyes were red, as if she had cried for a whole night. But she had finally made her final decision. Early in the morning, Grand Elder brought Elder Zhang and Sydney to the guest room where Tang Yun and the others were staying. Chapter 1809. Tang Yun wasn't in a hurry, but the Grand Elder, Sydney, and the others were. Greetings, Grand Elder, Valley Master, Elder Zhang. Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Shu quickly stood up to greet them. You're welcome. The Grand Elder waved her hand. Tang Yun, have you thought it through and made a decision? Yes, I've thought it through and decided to stay in the Snowy Valley. Tang Yun used the word to show that she had made up her mind and was ready to become a member of the Snowy Valley. Ha ha ha, good, very good, very good. The Grand Elder said the word good 3 times in a row. One could imagine how happy she was. Although she was heartless, she wasn't heartless. Tang Yun staying here was a great thing for the Snowy Valley, so naturally, the Grand Elder was very happy. Congratulations, Sister Tang Yun. Xueli also congratulated him happily. From now on, you and I are both Supreme Elders, so you don't have to be so courteous anymore. In the Snow Valley, except for the Supreme Elders, you don't have to greet anyone else. And Tang Yun wasn't too happy about this glory that the other people of the Snowy Valley saw. It was obvious that she wasn't in a good mood. The Grand Elder also saw through Tang Yun's mood. He was afraid that Tang Yun would change her mind, so he directly took out a small bottle and handed it to Tang Yun. This is the medicinal liquid made from the senseless grass. Drip his blood into the bottle and drink it. When you wake up tomorrow, his memory will no longer be in your mind. Oh! Tang Yun responded and took the small bottle from the Grand Elder. We're preparing to open the ancestral hall. I want to accept you as a disciple on behalf of the founder of the sect. This is a big event for the Snowy Valley. We need to prepare in advance. I'll have Elder Zhang wait for you at the door. After you drink it, you can come out immediately. At that time, Elder Zhang will help you save Lin Yi and give you a prescription. The Grand Elder said. Okay. Tang Yun was almost jumping out word by word, but whether it was the Grand Elder or Sydney, they didn't care. It was normal for Tang Yun to be in a bad mood. The Great Elder could tell that Tang Yun was a little depressed, but she thought that it was normal. After all, Tang Yun was about to part ways with her lover. No one would be happy if they could never see each other again. However, the Grand Elder was confident that when Tang Yun woke up the next morning, her memory of Lin Yi would no longer exist. Ever since the medicinal liquid of the senseless grass was concocted, no one had taken it. Because apart from the founder of the sect, the Snow Valley had always looked for suitable orphans to train from a young age. Therefore, the Valley Lords of the Snow Valley all had the surname Xue. However, the formula was passed down by the founder of the sect, Ancestor Xue, so it couldn't be wrong. The Great Elder and Xueli turned around and left the room. Elder Zhang sighed and said to Tang Yun, Miss Tang, I'll be waiting for you at the door. You can bid farewell to me one last time. Okay. Tang Yun nodded to Elder Zhang gratefully. If Elder Zhang didn't leave, Tang Yun would have to find an excuse to let him leave first. But since Elder Zhang took the initiative to say goodbye, Tang Yun's wish was fulfilled. Elder Zhang quickly walked out of the room and closed the door, leaving the last bit of time for Tang Yun and the others. Tang Yun sis, have you really made up your mind? Yushu looked at Tang Yun's determined gaze and felt her heart ache. She used to hate Tang Yun and curse her, but now, she only felt sympathy and reluctance to part with Tang Yun. Yes, I have decided. Tang Yun nodded and said firmly and solemnly. But, won't you be in pain in the future? Meng Yao was also worried. Didn't they say that if you have feelings in your heart, you will go crazy? Since I have the hidden ice heart jade bone constitution, which is very rare, then why would the people of Shuagu let me go crazy? Tang Yun would sometimes act shamelessly. They want me to inherit the power of sky-class late-phase peak, so they will definitely try their best to help me solve all kinds of problems. That's true. Plus, you are Bingtong's sister, Xiaoxiao's good sister. Even if Shuagu can't do anything, the Ice Palace won't just let you go crazy. They will definitely provide you with the Fire Spirit's fruit. Meng Yao nodded. Yeah, if that's the case, then what do I have to be afraid of? Tang Yun smiled. The only thing I'm worried about now is Lin Yi, so. Sigh. Meng Yao and Yushu sighed at the same time and fell into silence. Before, the girls were most worried about Lin Yi.
If Lin Yi woke up and saw Tang Yun with heartless arts, would he still like her? Even if he did like her, how could he accept that natural aura around Tang Yun that made him want to stay away from her? Plus, Tang Yun would have already forgotten about Lin Yi. Even if Lin Yi still liked Tang Yun, it would only cause him more pain. But since Tang Yun had made her decision, the one who would be in pain would be Tang Yun, not Lin Yi. She would always have Lin Yi in her heart. So now, Meng Yao and Yushu didn't have to worry about Lin Yi anymore. On the other hand, Tang Yun was worried about Lin Yi.
We will take good care of him. Meng Yao looked at Tang Yun and said solemnly.
I will guarantee with my life that I will take care of him for you.
Thank you.
Tang Yun smiled. After getting Meng Yao's promise, she finally let go of the worry in her heart.
This is what we should do. We will always be good sisters.
Meng Yao said.
Haha.
Okay, let's not talk about it anymore. Time is limited. It won't be fun if the people from Snowy Valley find out. Tang Yun smiled bitterly and quickly opened the small bottle containing the senseless grass. Then she put her finger in her mouth and bit down hard. Actually, Tang Yun didn't know where she got the courage to bite her finger, but after everything was done, it was natural. No matter how painful her finger was, it didn't hurt her heart. Tang Yun's finger was bleeding. But wasn't her heart bleeding as well? However, she had no other choice. This was the only big thing she could do for him, and it was also the last thing she could do for him. Yun sis, are you in pain? Why are you crying? Yushu couldn't help but ask when she saw the tears in Tang Yun's eyes.
Shoo!
Meng Yao kicked Yushu. How can you be so heartless? How painful can your finger be?
She just doesn't want to. Oh!
Yushu nodded and didn't say anything else. Tang Yin slowly dripped her blood into the small bottle in her hand. Chapter 18:10. That's right, it was her own blood. According to the Grand Elder, she should have dripped Lin Yi's blood into the bottle of forgetful grass and let Tang Yun drink it to forget about Lin Yi. However, Tang Yun did the exact opposite. This was the decision she made after hesitating for a whole night. Holy Hall let her bear all the pain herself. Let Lin Yi forget about her happily, forget about the past. Even if she became heartless in the future, Lin Yi wouldn't feel any pain or discomfort. Because at that time, Lin Yi wouldn't know who Tang Yun was anymore.
Yun, you really won't regret it.
Meng Yao saw Tang Yun's actions, and her heart ached. This was separating a pair of lovers. If it was the old Meng Yao, she might be happy, but at this moment, she didn't feel happy at all. She would rather be the one staying here. Since I've decided, I won't regret it. Tang Yun picked up the mixture of her blood and forgetful grass and came in front of Lin Yi. She slowly raised her hand and helped Lin Yi up. She slowly poured the liquid into Lin Yi's mouth. Tang Yun's body trembled because of excitement and nervousness. Tears blurred her eyes. An old song sounded in Tang Yun's ears. Don't talk about separation so easily. Since separation, don't sigh anymore. The sweetness of the past only belongs to yourself. The cold heart is still beautiful. Walking in the snow and looking for plum blossoms. Bid farewell to winter. Find a new me to replace the old me. Don't talk about separation so easily. Since separation, don't be afraid of loneliness. Yesterday's wind and rain have passed. Cherish the dreams of the future even more. New smiles, new thoughts. Find a dawn to walk out of yourself. When the last drop of the liquid flowed into Lin Yi's mouth, Tang Yun's hand trembled slightly. The bottle fell to the ground and shattered. At this moment, Tang Yun's heart was broken. She lowered her head, her heart in a mess. But when she raised her head again, her face was full of smiles as she looked at Meng Yao and Shu. All right, Lin Yi. I'll leave him to you from now on. In the future, you will be his first and second wives. Meng Yao forced a smile. Tang Yun's joke wasn't funny at all. Even Shu, who always wanted to be a small wife, didn't laugh. All right, it's time for Elder Zhang to treat Lin Yi. With that, Tang Yun bowed deeply to Meng Yao and Shu. Lin Yi, I'll be counting on you guys from now onwards. Please tell the people around him not to mention me in front of him. Meng Yao and Yushu nodded silently. Although Tang Yun's request made them uncomfortable, if they didn't do as Tang Yun said, it would be a waste of Tang Yun's effort. Tang Yun was afraid that Lin Yi would see her become heartless, so she gave the forgetful grass to Lin Yi first. This was to prevent both of them from hurting each other even more in the future. Elder Zhang. Tang Yun opened the door and saw Elder Zhang standing far away at the corner of the wall. Perhaps it was to avoid arousing suspicion, but he didn't stand too close. Holy hell, in fact, with Elder Zhang's eyes and ears as a sky class, if he wanted to eavesdrop, he would be able to hear it no matter how far he stood. However, Elder Zhang didn't have the intention to eavesdrop. In his eyes, Tang Yun and the others were his granddaughters, and Tang Yun was saying goodbye to Lin Yi for the last time. They would definitely say some sweet nothings. No matter how thick Elder Zhang's skin was, he wouldn't eavesdrop on these things. Miss Tang, have you taken the forgetful grass? Elder Zhang asked. Yes. Tang Yun nodded. You can help save Lin Yi now. Good, that's how it should be. Elder Zhang nodded. The ice spirit fruit is ready. It was just picked. The fresher it is, the more obvious the effect is. Thank you, Elder Zhang. Tang Yun said gratefully. Elder Zhang didn't say anything else and quickly walked into the room. At this time, the disciple who had gone to pick the ice spirit fruit returned. He handed a small box to Elder Zhang and left. He didn't dare to stay for even a second longer. As for Elder Zhang, he quickly opened the small box and took out a translucent, white, and flawless fruit that was similar to a ginseng. The fruit's material was like a transparent jelly, but it wasn't soft. Everyone present felt an incomparably refreshing aura, and their minds were refreshed. What a refreshing smell! Tang Yin's senses and control over the cold air were much sharper than normal people's ever since she'd gone through the mutation. The sacred fruit of ice spirit grows under the layer of ice in extremely cold snowy valleys. For cultivators who practice the extreme Yang Heart Sutra and Fire Heart Sutra, it is a must-have for curing qi deviation. As Elder Zhang explained, his hands did not stop moving. Like a magic trick, he quickly cut the ice spirit fruit into pieces. He did not have a knife in his hand. It was obvious that he was using his Zhen Qi to cut the fruit. The fact that he was able to do this shocked Tang Yun and the others. After cutting the fruit, Elder Zhang put it into Lin Yi's mouth. His movements were as smooth as water. After putting the fruit into Lin Yi's mouth, Elder Zhang sent a stream of cold air into Lin Yi's body. After that he said, "All right, it's done. He's fine now." "Thank you, Elder Zhang." Tang Yun heard Elder Zhang's words and sighed in relief. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, let out a sigh of relief as well. The Grand Elder had injected cold air into Lin Yi's body to suppress the fire poison, but Lin Yi's complexion was still very pale. But after eating the fruit today, his complexion was slowly turning back to normal. However, although Lin Yi's face returned to normal, he didn't wake up. This made Tang Yun and the others quite confused. However, Elder Zhang was the first to answer Tang Yun's question. "I have a prescription here. Brew the medicine according to the method. He'll wake up in a month." Another month. Tang Yun was a little disappointed, but happy at the same time. If Lin Yi woke up now and saw her, how would she deal with him? The Grand Elder and Elder Zhang both said that after drinking the forgetfulness grass, he would forget about his lover when he woke up. Could he have forgotten about himself? So, Tang Yun was a little worried. Chapter 18:11. 1 month is already very short for a cultivator who has suffered from qi deviation. Elder Zhang smiled bitterly. Plus I said 1 month at most. Although the fruit is a miraculous medicine, the time it takes to wake up depends on the practitioner's constitution. Saint Hall. So that's how it is. Tang Yun nodded and said, then the ingredients on the prescription. Those are just normal ingredients. You can buy them all at the pharmacy. Elder Zhang said. Meng Yao nodded. It seemed like she was the only one who could take on this mission. Meng Yao took the prescription from Elder Zhang and put it away solemnly. This was something that could save Lin Yi's life, after all. She couldn't afford to neglect it at all. Miss Chen, you can leave the valley now. Elder Zhang said to Meng Yao and Yushu. The ceremony and the disciple acceptance ceremony are about to begin. You are not from the valley, so you can't stay here. Meng Yao looked at Tang Yun and the unconscious Lin Yi. She didn't know what to say. Elder Zhang, can I send them off? Tang Yun knew that since the decision was made, she couldn't change it. She could only accept it. However, she could fight for it. She could walk with Yao Yao, Shu, and Lin Yi and never see them again. Saint Hall. All right. Elder Zhang was a kind man. As long as Tang Yun's request wasn't too difficult, he would agree. Meng Yao and Yushu packed their bags. Yushu was the one who carried Lin Yi here. But now, there were disciples waiting at the entrance with a stretcher. Yushu didn't need to carry Lin Yi anymore. They would help carry Lin Yi out of the valley and onto the car. It wasn't a long journey from the guest room to the car outside the valley, but it seemed especially short under Tang Yun's feet. Even though you've escorted me for 1,000 miles, we still have to part ways. Tang Yun's eyes stared at Lin Yi's face blankly, a hint of reluctance in her clear eyes. I want to see your face clearly. Perhaps, this separation will be eternal. But at this moment, I'm very proud and happy. I'm finally no longer that helpless vase. I won't be a burden to you anymore. When we meet again, I can proudly tell you that I can finally help you. But at that time, you might not remember me anymore. There was a smile on Tang Yun's face, but she couldn't stop her tears from covering her eyes. Her vision was foggy, as if she'd suddenly returned to her 12th year of high school, the small path where she met Lin Yi, the first date under the shade of the tree, the romantic night in West Star Village. These would become memories forever, buried in the deepest part of her memories, memories that belonged only to her. The person in his memories would also no longer remember this sweet past that no one cared about anymore. Tang Yun twirled the diamond ring on her finger. Her face was filled with determination. Yao Yao Shu, I'll leave Lin Yi in your hands. Take good care of him for me. From now on, there will be no Tang Yun in his life. Meng Yao pursed her lips and listened to Tang Yun's words. Tears flowed down her eyes uncontrollably. She used to hate Tang Yun, but now, she really didn't want to part with Tang Yun. She really didn't want to. Yun sis. I'm so touched. Yushu also cried at this moment. She realized that Tang Yun's position in her heart was no less than Meng Yao's. She knew that this separation might be forever. Tang Yun was different from Xiao. Her heartless arts made it impossible for her to return to Lin Yi's side. However, the three of them didn't say it too clearly. It was enough for them to understand each other's meaning. They didn't need to be too obvious. After all, the forgetfulness herb was for Lin Yi, not Tang Yun. They were afraid that Elder Zhang would find out. Saint Hall. People have their ups and downs. The moon waxes and wanes. It's hard to be perfect. Elder Zhang walked over and sighed. You win some, you lose some. Let's go back. Tang Yun nodded and looked at Lin Yi one last time. Then, she turned around and walked towards Snowy Valley. Elder Zhang sighed again and quickly followed. Only Meng Yao, Yushu, Lin Yi, and a few disciples from Snowy Valley were left here. Please go back. After the disciple put Lin Yi in the car, he said politely to Meng Yao and Yushu. Although his tone was polite, there was an irresistible majesty to it. Let's go. Meng Yao pulled Shu, who was staring at Tang Yun's back in a daze. Yushu nodded and got in the car with Meng Yao. The sound of an engine sounded, and the car started smoothly. This car had been specially modified by Tianlong, and there was no need to worry about it starting in the snow and ice. Meng Yao and Yushu, however, weren't in the mood to think about the car at this moment. Their hearts were all heavy. Their destination was West Star Village. This time, they had to go back and tell old Lin about it. Once they were done, they would go back to Songshan. Not far from the carriage was the Snowy Valley. It was bustling with noise and excitement. The annual sacrificial ceremony was held earlier than usual. This time, the Snowy Valley held the ceremony and the disciple acceptance ceremony at the same time to show how much they valued Tang Yun. With Tang Yun's physique, even the great elder didn't dare to call himself her master or inheritor. She walked on a different path of cultivation. In Tang Yun's path of cultivation, the great elder could only help and guide her. Most of the time, Tang Yun had to comprehend on her own because her physique was something that even the great elder didn't have. So, the grand elder accepted her as a disciple under the name of the founder. The main character of this worship ceremony, Tang Yun, was standing on the stage quietly. There wasn't a trace of a smile on her cold face. She didn't look happy at all. However, no one dared to question her. Even the grand elder thought that Tang Yun's personality changed after consuming the forgetfulness grass. It was an honor to be the center of attention. At this moment, Tang Yun was like the ruler of the Snowy Valley. Everyone was respectful to her. Even the grand elder and Sydney were polite to her. However, Tang Yun wasn't happy at all. She wanted Lin Yi to see how she looked right now. She didn't have to hide behind him anymore. She could hold up half the sky for him. But this wish would never come true. Chapter 1812. Not long after Meng Yao and Yushu left, another car drove out from the valley as well. It was to pick up Tang Yun's parents and Xiao Ming. This was also Tang Yun's idea. Not only would she miss her parents in Songshan, but Lin Yi might meet them. Tang Yun was afraid that her parents would spill the beans in front of Lin Yi. Especially her mother, Tang Yun was really worried. That was why after Meng Yao left, she asked the Snowy Valley to send people to pick them up. With Tang Yun's current position, even if she brought 3 idlers to the Snowy Valley, no one would dare say a word. Dark Palace. The Dark Shadow Group didn't get any information about the tourists, but they did get news that worried the palace master Wan heir, Chu Pingzhan, got into a car accident, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. He was in the intensive care unit of the hospital, and he was still in critical condition. When Elderly told Warner about this, Warner's face turned pale. How could he have gotten into a car accident? The investment failed, the company went bankrupt, and it was said that he committed suicide. Elderly said as he told the palace master Wan heir about what happened. The investment failed. Even if it failed, he wouldn't commit suicide. Pengzhan isn't a sore loser. Why would he commit suicide? Wan heir didn't believe the news. Plus there's Yao Yao, he hasn't even seen me yet. Why would he commit suicide? There were witnesses who said that he committed suicide, that he hit the car himself. Elderly sighed. That person. Wasn't he lying? Wan heir still didn't believe that Pengzhan would commit suicide. Not only the eyewitness, the entire incident was recorded on the dashcam of the car that caused the accident. This is the key. Our people have also seen this video. Son-in-law's eyes were lifeless and filled with despair. It should be the eyes of a person who committed suicide. Elderly smiled bitterly and said, although I also don't believe that young master would do such a stupid thing, but this is the truth. Why did his company go bankrupt? Is someone trying to kill him? Warner still didn't believe that Chu Pengzhan had committed suicide. I'm not sure if someone is trying to harm him. I can send someone to investigate, but we must hide it from the Grand Elder. Elderly said carefully, however, this isn't the main point. The most important thing right now is how to get the son-in-law out of danger. Great Cyclic Pill and Meridian Opening Pill? Palace Lord Warner was slightly taken aback. The Great Cyclic Pill and the Meridian Opening Pill were pills for cultivators to consume. One was a pill that could extend one's life when one's injuries were extremely severe, while the Meridian Opening Pill was a pill that could repair damaged meridians, bones, and internal organs. Takidara, but it wasn't just for practitioners. Normal people could use it as well, and Pengzhan's current condition required him to take a Great Recovery Pill first, followed by the Meridian Opening Pill. These 2 pills, however, were quite expensive. The Meridian Opening Pill was a little lacking, but the Great Recovery Pill was something even the Sky Elixir sect didn't have many in stock. Not only was it difficult to concoct a Great Recovery Pill, but it also required very rare treasures. It was only natural that it was priceless. And so, Palace Lord Wan had a bitter expression on her face. The relationship between the Dark Palace and the Sky Elixir sect wasn't good at all. They wouldn't even be able to get half a normal pill from the Sky Elixir sect, much less a Great Recovery Pill. The Dark Palace had their own refiners, but they were only at the first level of the golden class. They could barely make the Meridian Opening Pill, but the Great Cyclic Pill was out of the question. But even if it was the Meridian Opening Pill, Wanda thought that the Grand Elder would be the first to object if she asked for it for Pengzhan, wouldn't he? With that thought, Warner's eyes dimmed. I'll try my best. Elderly understood what Wana meant, but he didn't have the confidence to ask for these pills. He was an elder of a sect, but it could be said that the rarity of the Dark Palace's pills was even higher than those of the hidden houses, since the Sky Elixir sect would sell a batch of pills that weren't too rare in the public auction every year. But the Dark Palace and the Sky Elixir sect had a tense relationship, and the Dark Palace couldn't bring themselves to bid on the auction. With the Dark Palace's identity, they naturally wouldn't do something like ordering other hidden houses to bid for the pills. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, didn't run into any more danger on the way back, and the robbers didn't show up again. They had to find their way there, but they were familiar with the way back. After a few days of hard work, they finally made it back to West Star Village. But, although Lin Yi's problem was solved, the Miss and Shu weren't happy at all. The cost of Lin Yi's recovery was too heavy. They went with 4 people, but came back with 3 people. One of them had to stay in Snowy Valley, and they might not be able to meet again. Old Lin's heart sank when he saw Meng Yao and Shu getting out of the car, but Tang Yun wasn't there. Mo Kongwen had already warned him about this, but seeing it happen now, Old Lin still couldn't accept it. Yao Yao Shu, where's Yun Yun? Old Lin couldn't help but ask.
She stayed in Snowy Valley.
Meng Yao's face didn't look too good as well. She was the only one who didn't come back. Stayed in Snowy Valley? What do you mean?
Old Lin asked in a low voice, looking at Mo Kongwen with a strange expression. She.
Meng Yao couldn't hold back her tears at the mention of Tang Yun, and this made Old Lin even more worried. Could it be that something bad happened to her? Old Lin asked with a serious face.
No, according to my guess, Tang Yun stayed in Snowy Valley?
Mo Kongwen looked at Meng Yao and Yushu and asked. He had already guessed something from their expressions. In fact, from the moment Tang Yun left the West Star Village, Mo Kongwen had already predicted her fate. However, he was powerless to change it. He didn't have the ability to defy the heavens and change her fate. He had already seen through Tang Yun's fate. Stayed in Snowy Valley? Old Lin was startled.
Yes.
Yun Yun stayed in Snowy Valley. Meng Yao sobbed and told Old Lin and Mo Kongwen what happened. Even though Mo Kongwen had guessed Tang Yun's fate, he still opened his mouth wide when he heard that Tang Yun accepted the inheritance in Snowy Valley. It's the beginning of the month, readers reading on their phones. Please vote for the fishman, thank you. Chapter 18:13. She could accept the inheritance? One had to know that even a suitable inheritor needed a process and opportunity to understand and accept the inheritance. But Tang Yun completed the process as soon as she went to Snowy Valley. They didn't know if it was a blessing or a curse. As for Tang Yun giving the forgetful herb to Lin Yi, Old Lin and Mo Kongwen were touched. It wasn't easy for this girl to go this far for her lover. If that's the case, then follow Tang Yun's wishes and keep this a secret forever.
Don't let Lin Yi know about it.
Old Lin shook his head lightly and sighed. Or else it would be a waste of Tang Yun's effort. Both of them would be in extreme pain. Meng Yao and Yushu nodded after listening. Yes, Tang Yun didn't use the grass of forgetfulness. She would definitely be in extreme pain, and there was even a risk of qi deviation. If Lin Yi knew about this and saw Tang Yun who had a heart of ice, he would probably be in even more pain. The only way to get the best of both worlds was to never let Lin Yi know about this. It was a little unfair to both Tang Yun and Lin Yi, but there were some things that they had no other choice. After such a long delay, you guys should be starting school soon, right?
Old Lin asked.
Not really. We applied for East Ocean Industry University. The new students start school in October, Meng Yao said. Of course, it's another matter if we can't get in. That's good. Meng Yao said that, but Old Lin naturally wouldn't worry about Meng Yao not getting in. Not to mention the fact that Meng Yao's grades were there for all to see. Even if she couldn't get in, with Peng Zhan's power, she could still go to school. But it's about time. You guys should go back now, right?
Yeah,
other than bringing General Wei Wu and Skybolt Pig away, we're also here to say goodbye to you. Meng Yao said, a little sad. Grandpa Lin, we'll definitely come back to visit you when we're free next holiday. It doesn't matter if you visit me or not, but when you're free, go visit Tang Yun behind Lin Yi's back. She'll be very happy, you guys. Old Lin said.
Yes, I will.
Meng Yao nodded. All right, let's not talk too much. Rest here tonight and go on your way tomorrow. Old Lin said. Okay, we'll go say goodbye to Gooden. Also, Grandpa Lin, can you leave us your contact? Meng Yao said. Lin Yi had Old Lin's number before, so she didn't record it down. If Lin Yi didn't wake up, she might have to trouble Old Lin again. Old Lin said. It's in Lin Yi's phone. I'll go get it for you. Old Lin said. Lin Yi didn't bring his phone, nor did he turn it on. He left it in his room. This was the last night Meng Yao and Yushu would spend in West Star Village. It had been a long journey, but the two didn't feel too tired. They stood in the familiar courtyard, and it was as if they had returned to that night when they first arrived at West Star Village, when they were eavesdropping on Lin Yi and Tang Yun's whispers under the fence. The scenes from that time were right in front of their eyes, but so far away. Things were the same, but people weren't. Shoo, let's go rest. We still have to get up early tomorrow. Meng Yao sighed and pulled Shu's hand into the room. Yao Yao sis. Do we still have a chance to live with Tang Yun sis in the future? Yushu asked. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows what will happen in the future? Meng Yao suddenly smiled. You're asking me something you don't even know about, Prophet Shu? Prophet Shu isn't omnipotent. Yushu mumbled to herself as she followed Meng Yao back into the room. But if Meng Yao and Yushu were more attentive, they would realize that they were the main characters tonight, and the eavesdroppers were Old Lin and Mo Kongwen. You said that someone will be sacrificed. Tang Yun will be staying in Snowy Valley, right? Old Lin asked. Probably. Some things can't be predicted in detail, and this is the best ending. Mo Kongwen said. Old friend, it's time for you to leave, right? Old Lin asked. Yeah, it's time for me to go back now. Mo Kongwen said. You still haven't understood the practitioner's arts he left behind? Old Lin asked. It's not that easy. Mo Kongwen smiled bitterly. You know that the qi here is very thin. Other than Lin Yi's jade pendant, I didn't go to that place back then. It's so hard to break through. You're right. Let's work hard together. I need to take that step if I want to leave Star West Village. Old Lin sighed. The next morning, Meng Yao drove Yushu, Lin Yi, Wei Wu, and Skybolt Pig out of Star West Village. She'd arrived in front of all the villagers, but Meng Yao kept a low profile when she left, avoiding the crowded areas and going on the road quietly. On the way, Meng Yao wanted to contact her father and tell him that she and Shu were back, and that Peng Zhan was out of danger as well. She wanted to let him know that she and Shu were back, and that Peng Zhan was out of danger as well. Meng Yao didn't think much of it when the call didn't go through, thinking that her father was in a meeting or in the underground parking lot. But it had been so many days, and Peng Zhan's phone was still turned off when she called again, hours after that. Meng Yao was starting to panic. And so, she dialed Faubert's number, but it got through this time. Miss Chu. Faubert picked up quickly, but his voice sounded a little low. Is that you? It's me, Faubert. What's wrong? Your voice sounds a little hoarse. Are you sick? Meng Yao paused, but didn't mind. Where's my dad? Why's his phone off? Mr. Chu. Faubert hesitated. He thought that Meng Yao was alone, and it might affect her mood if he told her about Peng Zhan's car accident. It'd be even worse if she got into trouble because of her impatience. And so, Faubert said, he's very busy these few days with that big project. Miss Chu, is there anything I can help you with? Chapter 1814. I see. Meng Yao didn't suspect anything. Faubert, tell Dad that we're almost home. It's about a day's journey. Meng Yao said. All right, I understand, Miss Chu. At this point, Uncle Fu paused for a moment. Give me a call when you're back. All right, I got it. Meng Yao hung up the phone, relieved as she continued her journey. After another day of driving, Meng Yao finally saw the Songshan toll station sign. Both Meng Yao and Yushu let out a sigh of relief as they exited the toll station. They were finally back. This trip to Star West Village wasn't as happy as they had imagined, but they experienced a lot of things. The two had matured quite a bit after this experience. We're home. It feels so good. Yushu said sincerely. Yeah, I'm finally home. Meng Yao drove the car back to the Sea View Bay Villa area with ease, but the scene in the house shocked her the moment she opened the door. In the living room, there were several bags and luggage piled up in a mess. If it weren't for the familiar furniture, Meng Yao would have thought that she had entered the wrong house. Yao Yao, did we get a burglar? Yushu said, surprised. Burglar? We have more things now, not less. What kind of burglar would put things in someone else's house? Meng Yao glared at Yushu with a bitter smile as she walked over and opened the bags and luggage. She was even more surprised after opening them. Shu, look, aren't these your things? Yeah, these are my clothes. Who moved them into the villa for me? Yushu was curious. Weren't these things supposed to be in her villa? Why were they moved into Meng Yao's villa? Wait, let me ask Faubert. Meng Yao took out her phone and called Faubert. Miss Chu, you're back? Faubert picked up quickly. Yeah, Faubert, I'm back. But why is the villa so messy? It seems like all of Shu's things were moved in? Meng Yao asked, confused. Miss Chu, wait for me. I'll tell you when I get back. Faubert hesitated. Some things were better said in person. Yeah, okay. Meng Yao didn't realize at all that her family was about to be destroyed. Faubert didn't say anything else as he looked at Peng Zhan's body covered in tubes and wires through the ICU window. His eyes reddened as he turned around and left. The car recorder proved that Peng Zhan had committed suicide, and the driver wasn't responsible for the accident. The company that the driver worked for only gave Faubert a few tens of thousands of yuan as consolation money, and the rest of the medical expenses were naturally covered by Faubert himself. But now that Peng Zhan Industries was in the hands of someone else, Peng Zhan and Lin Yi's shares were all under Mingyue's name. The small shareholders who used to follow Faubert around were now like a completely different person. Peng Zhan had been hospitalized for a long time, and other than a few old business partners who came to visit him with some consolation money, the small shareholders were all busy sucking up to the new chairman. No one came to visit Peng Zhan at all. What surprised Faubert was that Guangbua, on the other hand, brought his son Xie Jinlong to the hospital with 200,000 yuan in one go. Faubert couldn't help but sigh at the fact that a shareholder who was kicked out of the company could do something like this. It was quite rare. Guangbua, on the other hand, had made it very clear that his son was saved by Lin Yi, and that was more than enough to offset any other grudges. This 200,000 yuan was also for Lin Yi's sake. Faubert, on the other hand, had saved up some money over the years. After all, he was following Peng Zhan, and he didn't have to pay for his living expenses himself. Other than the medicine he used, the rest of his salary was saved up. Guangbua's 200,000 yuan was enough to cover the surgery and medical expenses. But looking at the daily medical bills, Faubert didn't know what to do. The surgery fees were settled for now, but where was he going to pay for Peng Zhan's medical expenses in the future? Faubert didn't even want to spend money on public transportation. Right now, Faubert was trying his best to save every cent he had. After all, he had no source of income, and the more he spent, the less money he had. Fortunately, Faubert was a runner, and his walking speed wasn't tiring. He arrived at Meng Yao's villa in no time. But when Meng Yao opened the door, she was surprised to see Faubert walking in without a car. "Faubert, you didn't drive?" "Miss Chu, let's talk inside." Faubert smiled bitterly. Meng Yao was confused, but she still let Faubert into the villa. When the three of them sat down on the sofa, Faubert noticed that Lin Yi and Tang Yun were missing. He couldn't help but ask, "Where's Lin Yi and Tang Yun? They're not here?" Meng Yao and Yushu looked at each other, a bitter smile on their faces. Meng Yao didn't want Uncle Fu and her father to worry, so she didn't tell them about Tang Yin staying in Snowy Valley. Now that they were home, however, Meng Yao didn't need to hide it anymore. She told Uncle Fu everything that had happened. "So you're saying that Lin Yi hasn't woken up yet? And Tang Yun is staying in Snowy Valley and can't come back?" Faubert looked at Meng Yao and Yushu, stunned. He didn't know what to say. Originally, Faubert had placed all his hopes on Lin Yi. After all, Lin Yi's medical skills were superb. As long as Peng Zhan's life was saved, Lin Yi should be able to cure him. He could see that Lin Yi was very good at healing his meridians and Wu Qintian and General Wei Wu's wounds. Plus, Lin Yi's social connections were very deep. He maintained good relationships with all the noble houses. Although Peng Zhan Industries was gone, with Lin Yi's connections, it wasn't impossible for them to make a comeback. So Faubert was very happy when he heard that Meng Yao was back, but now. "Not yet, but the people in Snowy Valley said that he should wake up in about a month." Meng Yao said, "Right, Faubert, what's with the things in this house? I think they were all moved from Shu's house?" "A month. There's still a month." Faubert frowned deeply. Facing the huge expenses every day, Faubert was already struggling to make ends meet. Lin Yi still needed a month to wake up, and when he woke up, he might not even be able to recover his strength. Could Peng Zhan hold on until then? Chapter 18:15. Of course, it wouldn't be a problem if he had the money to pay for the medical bills, but if he didn't, then Peng Zhan could only wait for death at home. "Faubert, what's wrong?" Meng Yao noticed Faubert's weird behavior. "I was talking about the things in this house." "Ah, you're talking about things." Faubert finally understood Meng Yao's question, but he sighed deeply. Yao, actually, something big happened at home." "Something big?" Meng Yao paused. "What happened?" "Mr. Chu. His investment failed, and he killed himself." Faubert knew what kind of blow this news would bring to Meng Yao, but he couldn't hide it from her. "What?" Meng Yao stood up abruptly, looking at Faubert in disbelief. "Faubert, what did you say?" "Dad killed himself?" Mr. Chu's investment failed and he committed suicide by crashing his car. Although he didn't die on the spot, he's still in the hospital's intensive care unit. He's still in critical condition. Uncle Fu nodded and said in a heavy voice, I wanted to tell you about this earlier, but I was afraid you'd worry and get distracted while driving, so I waited for you to come back.
I'm sorry, Miss Chu. Faubert, don't say that.
Meng Yao was devastated, but she knew that Faubert was thinking for her sake. After going through Lin Yi's deviation and Tang Yin staying in Snowy Valley, Meng Yao was a lot stronger and more mature than before. She was worried about her father's safety, but she endured the pain and asked, Faubert, what happened? How did Dad lose his investment? I'll have to start from the deal with Hao Sen, Faubert said as he told Meng Yao about Peng Zhan and Ming Yue's deal. He said helplessly, I tried to persuade Mr. Chu to stop while he was ahead, but it was like he was possessed. He insisted on mortgaging his property and shares, and he lost everything in the end. I'm really sorry, Miss Chu.
Faubert, it's not your fault.
Meng Yao's tears gushed out when she heard that her father crashed into a speeding car when he had nothing. But she didn't blame Faubert. She knew that Faubert never interfered with her father's investments. Even if Faubert tried to persuade her father this time, her father wouldn't listen to Faubert completely. Miss Chu, Mr. Chu isn't out of danger yet, but there's still hope. My condolences. As long as there's life, there's hope. When Lily wakes up, we might have a chance to make a comeback. Faubert's eyes flashed coldly. We'll get back what we've lost.
As long as there's hope.
Meng Yao nodded, feeling a little better. But from the second half of Faubert's words, she could sense something else.
Faubert, are you suspecting something? Miss Chu, I don't have any proof, but Hao Sen.
Faubert's eyes flashed with anger again. I'm afraid that Hao Sen didn't have any good intentions from the start. It's just that I can't find anything wrong with them. Are there any problems with the trading records? Meng Yao asked. There's nothing wrong with them, but the trading was done overseas, and the records were only provided by Ming Yue. I can't find the original records. Faubert shook his head. Don't tell me. It's possible to lose everything and lose everything? Meng Yao was a little surprised. She didn't know much about futures, but she had seen stocks before. Even if a stock lost money, it shouldn't be a loss, right? They're using margin trading, so 100% loss is normal. There's no problem with that. Faubert said, but I'm afraid that these trading records are fake, made up by someone. It seemed that no one was an idiot. Hao Sen may have done it flawlessly, but Faubert still had his suspicions. Hao Sen didn't care though. So what if they had suspicions? It was a foregone conclusion. Hao Sen. Meng Yao wiped away her tears, remembering the name. Miss Chu, this villa doesn't belong to us anymore. It belongs to Hao Sen, but Jiang Wen said that he's your friend, and he didn't want you to be homeless. That's why he fought with his father to keep the villa. Faubert said, I don't know if Jiang Wen's part of it, or if he's being sincere, but it's best if you don't interact with them in the future. I know. Meng Yao didn't expect that the villa wasn't hers anymore. She looked at the familiar scene and felt a little sad. So Shu's stuff was moved here? Yes. Uncle Fu nodded and said, by the way, Miss Chu. Faubert, why are you still calling me Miss Chu? How am I a rich young miss? Just call me Yao Yao. Meng Yao was a little sad after what she'd gone through. All right, Yao Yao, I don't have much money left, and Mr. Chu's medical fees haven't been settled yet. Can you take out the pocket money in your card and give it to me first? Uncle Fu didn't bother with the details and asked directly. Of course. Meng Yao said naturally, but her face changed slightly. Wait. I don't have any money left. You don't have any? Faubert paused. We were robbed on the way. With that, Meng Yao told Lin Yi about the dangerous scene on the road, and how Shu was able to turn the situation around with her quick wits. Man, money is just a worldly thing. It's fine if it's gone, but right now, we don't have any money. Faubert, naturally, wouldn't blame Meng Yao. In that situation, he would have given her 5 or 10 million, let alone 1 million. Maybe I should ask my brother how much money my family can take out? It's hard to say if it's a lot, but a few 100,000 should be possible. Yushu's family wasn't rich. Her parents were researchers, and her grandfather was retired. Her brother's salary wasn't that high either. Other than his own living expenses, there wasn't much they could save. No need to ask. House Chen and House Song's money was probably all lent to Fatty Lai. Faubert shook his head. He knew about the bankruptcy of Miracle Dr. Guan's medical company. If Fatty Lai still had money, Faubert would have gone to borrow it already. He wasn't familiar with him, but with his relationship with Lin Yi, it wouldn't be a problem. The problem was that Fatty Lai couldn't even protect himself now. Chapter 1816. Meng Yao and Yushu knew about Fatty Lai's situation as well, and they all fell silent at the thought of his situation. Holy Church, forget it. I'll think of something. You guys just came back. You should rest first. Faubert stood up, but how was he supposed to think of anything? He was just trying to comfort himself. Back when the sect was annexed, his master, wife, and daughter were nowhere to be found. From then on, Faubert changed his name to Li Fu and followed Pengzhan. Other than Pengzhan, what other relationship did he have? I want to go to the hospital to see my dad. Meng Yao said. All right, let's go. Faubert nodded. After settling Lin Yi down, Meng Yao brought Yushu and Faubert out of the villa quietly. Meng Yao wanted to drive but Faubert stopped her. Yao Yao, don't drive, gas costs money. Save it for when you need it. Okay. Meng Yao let go of the car door apologetically and walked out of the villa with Faubert, Songshan's First People's Hospital. A delicate and pretty girl with a somewhat haggard expression was quietly standing outside a thick glass wall. She was looking inside the glass wall at a man lying on a white hospital bed. His body was full of tubes and wires, but his expression was very serene. Beside her was a middle-aged man and a voluptuous girl who was shorter than her by a head. Yao Yao, I just asked the doctor, if there are no accidents, Mr. Chu should be able to pass tonight. Faubert said, you don't have to worry too much. That's good. Meng Yao breathed out in relief. Faubert, thank you for taking care of him these days. What are you talking about? Mr. Chu and I are old friends. Faubert waved his hand. Let's leave, there's no point in standing here. Anne? Meng Yao said as she looked at her father, her heart aching a little as she looked at him. Why at this time? Why did things happen to the people closest to him? Her father, her best friend Tang Yun, and her male friend Lin Yi. It was as if they had all agreed to meet. Something happened at the same time. Misfortune never comes alone. Meng Yao had experienced it firsthand. Fortunately, everything was developing in a good direction. As long as his father could survive for a month and wait for Lin Yi to wake up, everything would be fine. Yes, everything will be fine. Meng Yao and Yushu went back to the villa, and Faubert went out to discuss the medical fees. Meng Yao and Yushu, on the other hand, didn't calm down at all. When they went home to check on Lin Yi, they suddenly remembered that Lin Yi needed money to buy medicine as well. The prescription Elder Zhang gave them didn't lack rare ingredients, and although they could be bought in a pharmacy, the price wasn't cheap at all. This wasn't a problem for the old Meng Yao, as she could just swipe her credit card. But now, her father's medical fees, Lin Yi's medical fees. What should she do with this money? Did she have to go back to the Snow Valley and ask Tang Yun for it? Shu looked at Meng Yao, who was holding the prescription with a stiff face. Naturally, she thought of this as well. Yao Yao sis, do you have no money to buy medicine for Shield Bro? Yes. Meng Yao nodded. She sat on the side of Lin Yi's bed in pain. She looked at Lin Yi's skinny face and sighed. I don't know how to contact Xiao Xiao. Maybe I can borrow some money from her. Yushu thought of her best partner. Sigh. At this moment, Meng Yao suddenly realized that she was the most useless one here. Without the Miss Halo, she couldn't even be compared to Tang Yun. Before, when Tang Yun was feeling inferior, she tried to comfort her. Now that she thought about it, it was a joke. At least Tang Yun knew how to make barbecue, but what about her? She didn't even know how to make money. Besides, Tang Yun had made the biggest sacrifice for Lin Yi. It could be said that Tang Yun's sacrifice was unparalleled. What about her? She thought about herself. She was still acting arrogant in front of her. Just thinking about it made her blush. Ding dong. The doorbell rang. Meng Yao and Yushu were confused. Who would come at this time? Faubert just left. It shouldn't be Faubert coming back. But when Meng Yao arrived at the villa's entrance, she saw someone she didn't expect to see. It was Jiang Wen. Seeing him, Meng Yao's face darkened. Before, because of her father, although Meng Yao hated this person, she still pretended to be polite to him. But now, it was time for them to completely fall out. Jiang Wen? What are you doing here? Are you here to see a joke? Meng Yao was expressionless. She looked at Jiang Wen coldly. She had no intention of opening the door. Yao Yao, what are you talking about? Why would I want to see a joke? We were childhood sweethearts who grew up together. Uncle Chu is also my elder. I'm also very sad that something like this has happened. Jiang Wen said painfully. I heard that you came back, so I came here to see you. You're spying on me? Meng Yao asked coldly. Ugh. Jiang Wen's face turned awkward. It's not that I'm spying on you, but the property of your villa belongs to Howson's company now. This place hasn't been taken back yet because I tried my best to get my father to fight for it in front of Uncle and Grandpa. But now that you're back, the management company will naturally call us. Then shouldn't I thank you? Meng Yao humphed lightly, as if she didn't care about Jiang Wen's words. Yao Yao. I know that you might be dissatisfied with Howson's decision, but what I want to say is that Howson is also a victim in this matter. Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. You're a victim too? Acting pitiful? Meng Yao naturally didn't believe Jiang Wen. Yao Yao, let me in. I'll tell you the details. I'm here to clarify things with you. It's not good for people to see me standing at the door like this. Jiang Wen said. Let you in. Meng Yao wanted to say, let you in? Are you dreaming? Why should I let you in? But then she remembered that this villa didn't belong to her anymore. Jiang Wen was the real owner, and she was living under someone else's roof. At that thought, Meng Yao sighed helplessly. She opened the door. Then come in. I'd like to see what you have to explain. Target equals, _blank. Chapter 1817. Indeed, Jiang Wen was right. Peng Zhan was the one who asked for more investments, and Mingyue was the one who tried to talk him out of it. Meng Yao was even more certain that Mingyue didn't want to lend the money, telling Peng Zhan to stop, but it was her father's stubborn insistence that Mingyue had no choice but to agree to Peng Zhan's request. After that, it was Peng Zhan's request to withdraw his investments, and Mingyue had warned him about the risks involved, but Peng Zhan still insisted on withdrawing his investments. This made Meng Yao a little sad. Thinking about how her father was doing this for her, she couldn't hold back her tears. These recordings were enough to prove Howson's innocence, and it was only now that Meng Yao believed that it was an accident. After all, she couldn't really say anything in front of evidence like this. Even if Howson really did play some tricks, it was Peng Zhan's own fault. She'd tried to talk him out of it so many times, but he still wouldn't listen. Who could he blame for losing the money? Yao Yao, this time, do you understand our family's pain? Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. Actually, we didn't get anything out of this at all. We basically used this money to buy these shares and properties. Can you send me the recordings of these phone calls? Meng Yao took a deep breath. Faubert didn't know about this, and Howson didn't explain much to Faubert. St. Hall as far as Jiang Wen was concerned, he had to explain it to Meng Yao personally for this to work. He had other things to do after all, and this was just a prelude to get close to Meng Yao. Of course. Jiang Wen nodded. But here's a video of the signing, you can have a look. With that, Jiang Wen opened the video of Peng Zhan and Mingyue signing the contract. Of course, the video was edited, and there were some things Meng Yao shouldn't have seen. Meng Yao looked at her father's happy face after getting the money, and she knew that her father had done this out of his own volition. This meant that Howson really didn't have much to do with it. Of course, Meng Yao had forgotten about the hypnotist as well. But who would have thought that there was a hypnotist involved in this? Moreover, even an ordinary hypnotist would find it hard to do such a flawless job. Of course, a hypnotist from the Fire Wolf gang was a different story. The Fire Wolves were all experts in the study of the human body's potential and limits. Hypnosis was also a way to stimulate the human body's potential. If Meng Yao had been thinking from a normal perspective, she wouldn't have suspected a hypnotist at all. All right. I believe you. This matter has nothing to do with you. Meng Yao was a straightforward person, and she had no reason to suspect Howson in front of all this evidence. It's fine. If people don't know the truth, they'll really suspect us. Jiang Wen smiled bitterly. I'll send it to your phone now. Meng Yao nodded. I understand. It's not your fault. It's Daddy's fault for being too impatient. Is there anything else you need? Here's 100,000. I heard that Uncle Chu really needs money right now, so I took out half of my private stash and gave it to you. Jiang Wen said as he took out the 100,000. He was a little apologetic. Because of what happened before, my father's position in the company has been temporarily revoked, so my pocket money has been reduced a lot. This is all I can give you. Meng Yao really wanted the money, but she didn't want to owe Jiang Wen anything. She wouldn't have cared about 100,000 in the past, but now she really wanted it. She didn't want to owe Jiang Wen a favor just because of 100,000, and that was something she didn't want to owe Jiang Wen a favor. Oh, give it to me. Yushu took the money from Jiang Wen's hand and said, I'll take it. It was Jiang Wen's turn to feel helpless. He took out the 100,000 to get on Meng Yao's good side. He didn't want Meng Yao to feel like he owed her, but at the very least, he wanted her to think that he was treating her well. But it was different now that Yushu took the money. He didn't need Yushu to owe him anything. He just wanted to get as far away from this bad girl as possible. But since Yushu had taken the money, he couldn't take it back. Not only would he lose face, but it would also make Meng Yao feel like he wasn't giving her the money with sincerity. It wasn't worth it. And so, Jiang Wen said without hesitation, It doesn't matter who I give it to. It's for Uncle Chu. It's a token of my sincerity. Thanks. Meng Yao felt a little better now that she didn't have to take the money herself. Right, Yao Yao, the amusement park belongs to us now. But Uncle is planning on developing the land around the amusement park. Are you interested in joining in? Jiang Wen finally revealed his main purpose for coming here. What do you mean? Meng Yao frowned. The amusement park belongs to your family now. What does it have to do with me? Uncle's planning on building a safari park near the amusement park. After all, it's surrounded by mountains and rivers. It's a beautiful environment, and Songshan lacks a big zoo. So Uncle's planning on training me and putting me in charge of this project. Jiang Wen said. Yao Yao, I'd like to invite you to join in the development. Me? What for? Meng Yao still didn't understand what Jiang Wen was planning. Yao Yao actually, I feel really bad seeing Uncle Chu like this. These properties belong to us now, but I think it's just temporary. As long as I work hard, I'll definitely get them back for you. Jiang Wen said. Get them back for me? Meng Yao looked at Jiang Wen, surprised. Was there something wrong with this guy? Yeah, if I perform well, then I'm sure Grandpa will agree to it. But the prerequisite is that you have to be with me. If you marry me, then it'll be perfectly justifiable for me to help you get these properties back. After all, you're my wife, and these properties belong to House Chu. Even if Uncle objects, Grandpa will definitely agree. Jiang Wen said proudly. In the third generation, Grandpa likes me the most. Chapter 18:18. In actuality, it was true that Olden liked Jiang Wen, but it was also because Jiang Wen was the most capable one, and his position in the Firewolves had been rising. Olden, on the other hand, was an outer disciple of the Firewolves. His dream back then was to enter the core of the Firewolves and become a core disciple. One had to know that core disciples of the Firewolves could become practitioners, and Jiang Wen, if he did a few more things, the Firewolves would probably give him foundation building pills to help him train. Marry you. Meng Yao smiled. She finally understood what Jiang Wen's goal was. He wanted her to marry him, and as for developing an amusement park, it was just a way to build up their relationship. As long as their relationship was built up, everything else would be fine. Meng Yao smiled. She finally understood what Jiang Wen was trying to say. But Meng Yao didn't like Jiang Wen at all. Even when the temptation was right in front of her, Meng Yao didn't move. She didn't know why, but there was a belief in her heart. If Lin Yi woke up, then everything would be fine. Even if she lost a lot, as long as Lin Yi was there, then she could make a comeback. Yeah, you know that even if I'm loved by Grandpa, if you weren't my girlfriend, Grandpa wouldn't agree to me returning all these properties to you. Jiang Wen opened his hands and smiled bitterly. Yao Yao, you might think that I'm taking advantage of you, but this is the only way I can think of. Besides, I really like you. I'm sorry. I still need to go to school. I'm not interested in this theme park. Meng Yao shook her head, rejecting Jiang Wen's suggestion. Sigh, in any case, I'm just saying. You should think about it. After all, I don't want you to lose House Chu's properties. I heard that it was your grandpa's hard work. Jiang Wen said. Thank you. But I'm not thinking about marriage or work right now. I still need to go to college.
Meng Yao said. All right, I won't disturb you then. Give me a call when you've thought it through. Jiang Wen said. Wait, you said you want to build a zoo? Yu Shu asked suddenly. Yes, Xiao Shu, you also help me to persuade Yao Yao. After all, we all want to help her. Jiang Wen nodded. Although he didn't like Shu, she was the closest person to Meng Yao. Meng Yao would listen to her if she tried to persuade her. Are you guys buying a lot of animals? Yu Shu asked. Of course, how can there be no animals in a zoo? Jiang Wen didn't know why Yu Shu was asking this, but he answered honestly. That's good. I have a lion here. I'll sell it to you. It doesn't have to be too expensive, just 200,000 or 300,000 will do. Yu Shu demanded. Ah! Jiang Wen paused, not knowing what to say. It's better to make a cooked one than a raw one. We're already so familiar with each other, and Yao Yao needs money. You won't reject it, will you? Yu Shu asked. I'll buy it, of course. 300,000, right? All right, I'll talk to uncle about it. I'll definitely buy it. Jiang Wen was troubled. His cooperation with Meng Yao didn't work out, and he got a lion for nothing. Jiang Wen had heard that Yu Shu got a lion from Shao family's Gohuli, but he didn't think that he'd be the one to buy it. More importantly, the zoo was a project he came up with on a whim. The goal was to get in touch with Meng Yao. If Meng Yao didn't participate, why would he even bother with the zoo? He didn't have the time to do that. There were more profitable projects waiting for him. That's great, I'll get someone to send the lion to you later. Yu Shu said. Jiang Wen left Meng Yao's house, troubled. He felt helpless. Nothing good ever happened to Yu Shu. This girl always found trouble for him. What the hell? Meng Yao couldn't help but smile at Shu's actions, but she didn't stop her. One was willing to get hit, and the other was willing to suffer. With Shu here, other than Lin Yi, she'd take advantage of everyone else. Jiang Wen was asking for it. Shu, do you think that Dad's incident really has nothing to do with Jiang Wen? Meng Yao said helplessly as she looked at the evidence on her phone. Who knows? This guy might not even be telling the truth. Yu Shu doesn't have a good impression of Jiang Wen. But there's evidence. Meng Yao said. That's true. But we'll have to wait until Uncle Chu wakes up. Yu Shu said. Hidden House Yu. Yu Bing's letter had arrived. If it were any other disciple of the Ice Palace, they wouldn't be able to enjoy this kind of treatment. But Yu Bing could write a letter to his family once a month, and he could even receive letters from House Yu through the Ice Palace. The other outer sect disciples had to be in the sect for at least a year before they could enjoy the privilege of writing letters to their families. But Yu Bing had the care of the future sect master of the Ice Palace. Not only did he receive more elixirs than the other outer sect disciples, but he also had more privileges than the other outer sect disciples. But even so, no outer disciple dared to object. Who told him to be so close to the future sect master of the Ice Palace? This time, Yu Xiaoqin's letter gave Yu Bing quite a shock. Xiaoqin questioned Yu Bing in the letter. Why did he hide the fact that Lin Yi participated in the tomb robbery, and that he got the qi gathering pill? Yu Bing, on the other hand, thought that his father knew everything when he saw the letter. He quickly explained everything, admitting that he knew that Lin Yi had participated in the tomb raiding, and that he had a qi gathering pill with him. But he couldn't be loyal at the same time, and he couldn't betray his friend, so he hid it from his father. In truth, Yu Bing's explanation was because he thought that his father knew everything. He didn't know that it was all a coincidence. Yu Xiaoqin didn't know the truth of the matter, and only heard Yu Huashing's side of the story. That was why he wrote such a vague letter to Yu Bing. He didn't want to expose himself, so naturally he didn't say too much. He only asked a few general questions, but Yu Bing had a guilty conscience, and so this was the result. If Yu Huashing knew about this misunderstanding, he'd probably be laughing so hard that he wouldn't be able to close his mouth. He just randomly made up a lie to frame Lin Yi, and now Yu Bing was telling the truth. Even the heavens were helping him. Chapter 18-19. Looking at the letter in his hands, Xiaoqin's face darkened even more. After confirming Yu Huashing's words, Xiaoqin immediately went to the mountain where the old Yu was in isolation. Under Yu Yi's lead, Xiaoqin once again met the old Yu. Saint Hall, father. Yu Bing's reply is here. Xiaoqin didn't waste time with pleasantries and went straight to the point. What did Yu Bing say in the letter? Old ancestor Yu opened his eyes and asked. Yu Huashing didn't lie. Lin Yi did participate in the tomb raiding, and he did have the qi-gathering pill. Xiaochen said as he handed the letter to the old Yu. The old Yu took the letter and read it quietly, as if he was very serious. Xiaochen didn't want to disturb him, so he stood to the side and waited for the old Yu to finish reading. It was obvious that the old Yu liked Yu Bing a lot. Otherwise he wouldn't be reading the letter so seriously. After a while, the old Yu put down the letter in his hands and sighed. I wanted the other hidden houses to break the rules and send out their Earth class, but I didn't think that the first to make a move would be us, House Yu. Father, you're preparing to make a move on Lin Yi? Xiaochen was happy as he asked. Saint Hall, if his father supported him, then they might be able to get the qi-gathering pill back, and he would have a high chance of breaking through to Sky Class. Of course, he didn't think that Lin Yi had already eaten the qi-gathering pill, as it would only have the greatest effect when an Earth Class late phase peak was breaking through to Sky Class. Taking it before was a waste of a heavenly gift. If you become a Sky Class as well, then House Yu will have nothing to worry about for the next 100 years. The old Yu said, This is your hope, so of course I'll give it my all. Since we've confirmed that it was Lin Yi who took the pill, then let's fulfill Yu Huashing's wish. Kill Lin Yi and get the pill back. Kill Lin Yi? Xiaochen raised an eyebrow. Yu Bing. Sooner or later, he will understand that the interests of the family are greater than anything else. Elder Yu said, This time, we'll let Yu Lu go. Although it's said that Lin Yi went crazy, we don't know if it's true or not. Yu Lu is an Earth Class mid-phase peak. Even if Lin Yi is faking it, he can still beat Lin Yi. Yes. Xiaochen nodded. Then I'll go arrange it right away. Go talk to Yu Huashing. You know what to say, right? Old ancestor Yu said. Of course. Yu Xiaochen said, I'll make sure that Yu Huashing remembers this favor after helping House Yu get their revenge. Count this as repayment for House Zhao stealing his qi-gathering pill. All right, off you go. Old ancestor Yu waved his hand. After Xiaochen left the old ancestor's training grounds, he sent for Yu Huashing. Greetings, head Yu. Yu Huashing said respectfully. He didn't know why Yu Xiaochen was looking for him all of a sudden, but he wasn't afraid. Ever since he was told to pretend that the Zhaos had taken the qi-gathering pill, he knew that everything would be fine. No one would pursue this matter anymore. Even if someone did pursue this matter, Yu Huashing would be able to push all the blame away. Huashing, Yu Bing has sent a letter, confirming your story. Lin Yi did participate in the grave robbing, and he was the one who stole the qi-gathering pill. Xiaochen said. Yu Huashing paused. Had Yu Bing lost his mind? What the hell did Lin Yi participate in the grave robbing? Plus, the qi-gathering pill wasn't stolen by Lin Yi. He was the one who gave it to House Zhao. Why did Yu Bing admit to his story? Before, Yu Huashing was relieved, but he was afraid that something would happen to Yu Bing. If Yu Bing had clarified things, then House Yu would definitely believe Yu Bing's words, not Yu Huashing's. So Yu Huashing was hoping that Yu Bing wouldn't be able to write letters in the Ice Palace, but he didn't think that Yu Bing would actually reply to him. What was even more unexpected was that Yu Bing actually confirmed his story. Was Yu Bing out of his mind? But despite his doubts, Yu Huashing was still very happy. No matter what reason Yu Bing had, confirming this was beneficial to him. After a moment of shock, Yu Huashing quickly said, That's how it is, that Lin Yi is extremely despicable. Not only did he destroy our common House Yu, he even stole the qi-gathering pill that belonged to you, head Yu. What a heinous crime. That's right, this Lin Yi is indeed despicable, so after my father and I talked about it many times, he finally agreed to send people to avenge your common House Yu. Xiaochen said, knowing how to buy people's hearts. Thank you, head Yu and elder Yu. Yu Huashing's heart was filled with gratitude. The common House Yu basically only existed in name now. Yu Huashing was filled with hatred, but after hearing that Lin Yi had become an Earth Class, he didn't have the courage to take revenge anymore. If the hidden House Yu didn't help, then unless he became a higher class master, he wouldn't be able to do anything to Lin Yi at all. Plus, he was someone who was especially afraid of death. Before he completely suppressed Lin Yi's strength, he wouldn't do anything rash. You're welcome. This is what we should be doing. The common House Yu may not have a successor, but you can support a few other relatives. I heard that Yu Haitian isn't bad. Let him and Yu Kuan take care of House Yu together. Xiaochen said, but House Yu will just be doing business from now on,
don't participate in training anymore.
Yes. Yu Huaxing sighed heavily.
If the common house you stopped training, then what difference was there between them and normal businesses? This meant that the common house you would be completely marginalized from now on. They wouldn't have the glory they had before. But this was the best solution. At least the hidden house you would still support House U. Otherwise, it was hard to say if House U could survive. Without a practitioner, any house with a practitioner could step on them. This time, I'm going to let Yu Lu go find Lin Yi for revenge. Is there anything else you want to say?
Xiaochen asked.
Nothing. It's all up to you, head Yu. Yu Huaxing wanted to say that he wanted to take revenge himself, to kill Lin Yi with his own hands. But in the end, he didn't have the courage to say it, because he was afraid of dying. He was afraid that Lin Yi was faking it. Even if Yu Lu, an Earth-class mid-phase peak, went with him, he was afraid that Yu Lu wouldn't be able to protect him. And so, Yu Huaxing gave up when it came down to it. Chapter 1820. Xiaochen naturally didn't say anything. He told Yu Huaxing to leave and went to find Yu Lu. Yu Lu, I'll give you a mission this time. Yes, House Head Yu. Please instruct me. Yu Lu was a direct descendant of House Yu, and he was extremely loyal to House Yu. He was a brainwashed loyalty. Whatever Xiaochen told him to do, he'd do it. Heart. Go to Song's Han and help me get rid of someone, then get the Qi gathering pill back from him.
Xiaochen said. Yes.
Yu Lu didn't even think about it. Please tell me, House Head. This person's name is Lin Yi. I'm sure you've heard of him. Here's his information and address. When you get there, just deal with him directly. As for the people around him. Xiaochen paused before continuing seriously. Don't touch the people around him, especially the two girls with him. Don't hurt them. Every debt has its debtor, and we, House Yu, can't be too domineering. We just need to find trouble with Lin Yi. I understand. Yu Lu nodded. In actuality, Xiaochen didn't need to explain so much. There was no doubt about Yu Lu's loyalty. Whatever Xiaochen said, he'd do it, unlike Yu Huaxing, who still had some ulterior motives. Holy Hall. All right, you can go now. Xiaochen said to Yu Lu after giving his orders. Yu Lu, on the other hand, disappeared in a flash. An Earth-class mid-phase peak was extremely fast. Later that night, Yu Tian and Ling Shan came to visit Meng Yao, Yu Shu, and Lin Yi. Yu Tian got the news from Yu Shu, so he came to the villa. As for the news of Lin Yi's deviation, he got it from another source. Meng Yao and Yu Shu weren't as hostile towards Ling Shan as they were before. They knew the results of the Noble House meeting, and Ling Shan was now on Lin Yi's side. While the vixen liked Lin Yi, she was still a mystic late-phase peak. While Lin Yi was unconscious, she could be a helper, protecting Lin Yi. Brother, Fox Song. Yu Shu opened the door. Shu, don't say that. Call her Ling Shan sis. Yu Tian scolded. Still not Ling Shan sis, she wants to be Shield Bro's wife. I'm just a small wife, but she's at least 6 or 7. You should call me Shu sis. Yu Shu said. Heart. Ling Shan don't mind her. Shu's just like that. Yu Tian didn't know if he should be laughing or crying at Shu's behavior. It's fine. I'll follow the rules when I come in. Ling Shan looked at Yu Shu and said faintly, but I don't think Lin Yi has ever acknowledged you as a small wife, right? What's wrong with calling you Shu sis when he does? Yu Tian smiled bitterly at Ling Shan's words. He didn't expect Ling Shan to be so sharp with her words. All right, Ling Shan, Shu, stop arguing. Boss Lin Yi hasn't woken up yet. Who's going to be the small wife? Yu Tian said. Yeah, Shu, stop arguing. Yun Yun has already entrusted Lin Yi to us. What's there to argue about? Meng Yao was talking about Shu, but she was also telling Ling Shan about their relationship with Lin Yi. Ling Shan smiled and didn't say anything. Bro, do you want to see Shield Bro? Yu Shu asked. That's second. I'm here to remind you guys not to stay in the villa. You guys should move out and find a more secluded place to stay. Yu Tian said, according to our experience, if the news of boss going crazy gets out, his enemies might come for revenge. It's too dangerous for the two of you to stay here alone. Meng Yao couldn't help but gasp. She had forgotten about this before, and now that Yu Tian reminded her, she suddenly remembered the time when Lin Yi was injured and fainted, and the noble houses came to him at the same time. She still had lingering fear when she thought about the situation at that time. Lin Yi had woken up at the critical moment, but what about now?
It was impossible for Lin Yi to wake up now, and if more enemies came to their door, there was only one way.
According to the information I received, at least the hidden house Pai behind Xiao family and the hidden house Yu behind house Yu won't let this go easily, so you guys better leave here as soon as possible. If these two houses send masters, Yu Qianbro and I won't be able to fight them even if we work together.
Ling Shan said.
Thanks for the reminder. We'll pack up now. Meng Yao nodded decisively after listening. She didn't have the slightest bit of nostalgia for this huge villa. Since it wasn't hers anymore, what was the point of living here? When Lin Yi woke up, she could buy a bigger villa. Meng Yao had always been confident in Lin Yi, but she didn't know where this confidence came from. Was it just because of Lin Yi's tall figure during the bank robbery? We'll help you. We'll only pack the important things, the things that are meaningful to you guys. Leave the other furniture and appliances here, Yu Qian said.
Okay.
Meng Yao nodded and started packing with Yushu, Yu Qian, and Ling Shan. An hour later, Meng Yao and Yushu were panting as they tossed a couple of bags onto the car in the yard. These were all the useful stuff they'd packed, including a change of clothes and underwear, and a laptop with some photos and other important documents on it. The other computers had all been erased from the computer. Lin Yi didn't have many things. Other than a few tattered clothes in his room, there were the clothes Meng Yao bought for him. Meng Yao packed these clothes together with some unknown things in Lin Yi's drawer.
Finally done.
Meng Yao breathed out in relief. She looked at the things that couldn't be taken away and shook her head. Goodbye, villa. From the moment she stepped out of the villa, she might never come back again. But, just when Meng Yao and Yushu put Lin Yi in the car and were about to leave, something unexpected happened. An uninvited guest came to the villa's doorstep, and even with Yu Qian and Ling Shan's strength, they couldn't tell how this person got here.
It was as if he just appeared out of thin air, without any warning.
Chapter 1821. Stalling for time. Who's Lin Yi?
The person asked directly. Get him out here.
Who are you? What are you doing here? Yu Qian was shocked as he barked at the person. This person gave him a sense of danger, and his instincts told him that this person was very strong. Ling Shan was shocked as well. She and Yu Qian had guessed that after the news of Lin Yi's deviation, someone would come looking for trouble with Lin Yi, but she didn't think that someone would come so soon. She wasn't sure of the person's identity, but it looked like he was definitely here to cause trouble. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked for Lin Yi's whereabouts right away.
I'm Yu Lu, under orders from the head of the hidden house Yu to find Lin Yi and avenge the common house Yu.
I don't want to kill innocent people. Get Lin Yi out here. With Yu Lu's status and strength, naturally, he wouldn't hide who he was. He wasn't afraid that someone close to Lin Yi would go to the hidden house Yu for revenge. In the hidden house Yu, there were 2 sky-class masters overseeing the place.
If he dared to go there for revenge, he would be courting death.
Ling Shan and Yu Qian looked at each other, understanding what was going on. It was the hidden house Yu after all. They didn't expect them to come this fast. Lin Yi's deviation, and he hasn't come back. Don't you know? Ling Shan said. Qi deviation? Yu Lu said coldly. Maybe it's true, but he hasn't come back. I don't believe it. Who's in the car? Yu Lu was a very loyal person trained by House Yu, but that didn't mean he was an idiot. On the contrary, Yu Lu's training had trained him to be very meticulous. He could tell at first glance that these people were moving. As for why they were moving, it was obvious. They probably knew that their enemies would come looking for trouble, and so they wanted to leave first. Yu Lu locked his eyes on the car in the yard. Ling Shan and Yu Qian looked at each other and yelled, Yao Yao Shu, run! We'll handle this. With that, Ling Shan and Yu Qian charged at Yu Lu, one on the left and one on the right. Meng Yao and Yu Shu were very nervous in the car, not expecting something like this to happen right before they left. Someone came looking for trouble, and they didn't know what to do. They were afraid that this person would do something to Lin Yi, but Yu Qian and Ling Shan yelled. Meng Yao subconsciously started the car, stepped on the gas, and the car shot out of the villa like an arrow, speeding away. Yu Lu's eyes darkened. He didn't think that 2 late phase peak mystic juniors would dare to attack him first. He could have easily dealt with Ling Shan and Yu Qian, but Yu Lu hesitated as he remembered Yu Xiaoqin's orders before he left, to target Lin Yi and not hurt the innocent. Although Yu Xiaochen was talking about the two girls beside Lin Yi, Yu Lu didn't know if he was talking about these two as well. He didn't know why Xiaochen wanted him to target Lin Yi, but he didn't question it. He carried it out. And because of that, he hesitated, not knowing how to deal with Lingshan and Yutian. And it was this moment of hesitation that gave Meng Yao the chance to drive away. Otherwise, with Yu Lu's skills, it would be a piece of cake for him to stop Meng Yao and Yu Shu.
Move or I won't go easy on you,
Yu Lu warned faintly. Meng Yao and Yu Shu had left, but Yu Lu was confident that he could catch up to them in a short amount of time. After all, there were only a few roads in the villa area, and with his speed, he would be able to find them. In order to make these two retreat, Yu Lu channeled his practitioner's arts as well, and in an instant, his Earth-class mid-phase peak was on full display. His chi pressed down on Lingshan and Yutian. Lingshan and Yutian's faces changed. They knew their opponent's strength now. It was an Earth-class mid-phase peak. If they were facing someone who just entered Earth-class early phase, Lingshan and Yutian would have a chance if they worked together, but this was an Earth-class mid-phase peak. They had no chance at all. They weren't Lin Yi, and they didn't have the ability to fight someone stronger than them. Facing someone this much stronger than them, there was only one possibility. Defeat. I'm a police, you're trespassing on private property. Come back with me for investigation, Lingshan said. Rain 6 paused. He'd thought that these two would be suppressed by his aura and retreat, or maybe they'd come at him without a care for their lives, but he didn't think that Lingshan would say something like this. Trespassing? Yu Lu scratched his head, but didn't do anything. He explained, I'm from a hidden house. I understand. I'll notify the investigation department, Lingshan said. Yu Lu was about to say that he was from a hidden house, and that he was bound by the association, but when he saw the cunning look in Lingshan's eyes, he understood immediately. This person was trying to stall for time, giving the other side a chance to escape. With that thought, Yu Lu didn't bother with Lingshan anymore. He turned around, wanting to chase after Yu Shu and Meng Yao. Lingshan and Yutian understood immediately that Yu Lu understood. Lingshan's words did stall for time, but they couldn't guarantee that Yu Shu and Meng Yao wouldn't be able to escape. They stood in front of Yu Lu, not letting him leave. Move, or I won't go easy on you, Yu Lu said coldly. Two mystic late-phase peak, are you guys tired of living? At this point, Yu Lu had guessed that these two were from noble houses as well. He didn't know which noble house they were from, but they were definitely with Lin Yi. Yu Lu was raging inwardly. These two mystic juniors were messing up his plans, and he wanted to kill them immediately. But, remembering what Xiaochen had told him, he didn't do it. After all, he didn't understand what Xiaochen meant. Xiaochen's words were very vague, and Yu Lu didn't know if Xiaochen only wanted the two girls with Lin Yi to be harmed, or did he want everyone else to be harmed? After all, Xiaochen had added that House Yu had a debtor, and he couldn't be too domineering. Target equals, under blank. Chapter 1822. Us two juniors are untalented. We'd like to experience your strength. Yutian forced himself to speak to Yu Lu. Yu Lu frowned. He didn't expect these two to be so persistent. A wave of frustration rose in his heart as he pushed his palms out, one on the left and one on the right. It seemed like he was pushing them out randomly, hitting Lingshan and Yutian on the left and right. An Earth-class mid-phase peak and a mystic late-phase peak were worlds apart. They couldn't be compared at all, especially with Yu Lu's skills. He could kill Yutian and Lingshan with ease. But Yu Xiaochen's warning made Yu Lu cautious. He used his skills. He didn't use his full strength, only sending Lingshan and Yutian flying. They wouldn't be heavily injured, but some light injuries were unavoidable. Lingshan and Yutian's bodies flew out, one on the left and one on the right. Both of them felt sorrow. They couldn't even take a single hit from Yu Lu. They didn't even see how Yu Lu did it, and they were already flying out. This meant that the difference in strength between the two was just too huge. Yutian and Lingshan's thoughts of risking their lives was a joke. If Yu Lu wanted to kill them, they'd be dead already. But be it Yutian or Lingshan, they didn't know why Yu Lu would go easy on them. Looking at how aggressive he was when he came for Lin Yi, he didn't look like a merciful person at all, did he? But this was a question that would never be answered. After sending Lingshan and Yutian flying, Yu Lu disappeared into the night, chasing after Yu Shu and Meng Yao. At this moment, Meng Yao's jeep was parked quietly under an overpass. Meng Yao, on the other hand, was carrying a huge pile of bags, waiting quietly under an overpass. Yushu was carrying Lin Yi on her back. The two of them ran with all their might in the dark night. The two knew that Yu Lu would definitely chase after them, so Meng Yao abandoned the car. They changed to walking, although it was harder. But at least they wouldn't expose themselves easily. Phew! Meng Yao was already out of breath. She didn't know where the energy came from, but she had 2 bags in her hands. He did not feel tired at all. Yushu, on the other hand, ran as fast as she could with Lin Yi on her back. In a dangerous situation, a person's potential was limitless. However, the potential of these 2 people was obviously stronger than that of a normal person. Sky Thunder Pig and General Wei Wu, on the other hand, each carried more than 3 bags, but they ran very fast as well. This bit of weight seemed to be nothing to them. It was just that there was a limit to how much space they could carry on their bodies. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem to hand over the 2 bags in Meng Yao's hands and choose Lin Yi. Yao Yao, how much longer do we have to run? I'm running out of energy. Yushu and Lin Yi had been running ever since they got off the overpass, and they'd already run 1,000 meters. Find a secluded place, at least one of those back alleys. Meng Yao said. Your shield bro is dead meat if he gets caught.
Oh, then Shu's full of energy again.
Yushu gritted her teeth. Meng Yao was a little speechless. This Shu, the moment she mentioned that Lin Yi was in danger, she'd go all out in her little universe. In front of them was an old building district. This was one of the earliest buildings in Songshan, but it was also the most dilapidated one. The buildings here were all decades old, and most of them were 3-story red brick houses. Because of the problems with the planning, they didn't consider things like roads, so there were only alleys between the buildings, and the alleys were all enclosed by the residents on the first floor, turning it into their own yard. Dirty, messy, and broken. This was Meng Yao and Yushu's first impression. If it weren't for this escape, they wouldn't have come to a place like this no matter what. Perhaps they wouldn't come here for the rest of their lives, but Meng Yao purposely chose this place today. First, there were more obstacles here. The boxes were narrow, and the front of the yard was filled with junk. It was easy to find a hiding spot. Second, cars couldn't enter this place, and the two left in their car. If Yu Lu didn't see them hiding in the parking lot under the overpass, he wouldn't have thought that they were in an alley like this. Let's rest for a bit, Meng Yao said to Yushu, who was panting heavily. She really couldn't walk anymore. Okay. Yushu might have gone all out, but she was exhausted as well. Naturally, she agreed with Meng Yao's suggestion. The two found a pile of junk in front of a house and hid behind it carefully. Yu Lu chased after them, walking on the rooftops and telephone poles. He could see the streets below, and as an Earth-class mid-phase peak, it was a piece of cake for him. Yu Lu was furious. If it weren't for Yutian and Lingshan, he would have caught up to Meng Yao and Yushu long ago. But now, he could only rely on his instincts to search the area. Finally, Yu Lu's eyes landed on the parking lot under the overpass. There weren't many cars in the parking lot at night, and if he looked carefully, he would be able to find Meng Yao's jeep easily. The next moment, Yu Lu appeared beside the jeep. He touched the car's hood, a cold smile on his face. He leaped up again, jumping onto the overpass. A driver who was passing by suddenly saw someone appear on the bridgehead. He almost got into an accident, thinking that he'd seen a ghost. Yu Lu was observing the surrounding terrain. Since Meng Yao and Yushu had abandoned the car and walked, Yu Lu was thinking, which path would he choose if he were in their shoes? Finally, Yu Lu's eyes landed on an area of old buildings not too far away from the overpass. He could see what was going on in the other streets and neighborhoods, but that area of old buildings was built in a complicated manner. The tallest one was a 3-story building, and there wasn't a single place where he could get a good view of the entire area. This was the place. Rain 6 set his sights on this area of old buildings. If there was someone following him, then Rain 6 would have chosen this area as well, since there were too many places to hide and adapt to the situation. A small alleyway was all it took to lose his pursuer. After making up his mind, Yu Lu walked quickly towards the old building area. Chapter 1823. Yao Yao, that Yu Lu won't come after us, will he? Yushu had a bad feeling about this, as if Yu Lu could come after them. I don't know. Meng Yao looked at the closed doors of the houses, thinking how great it would be if they could hide in one of the houses. But she didn't know them, and even if they told her to hide in one of the houses, Meng Yao wouldn't dare do it. After all, they weren't familiar with the place, and who knew if they had bad intentions. In the distance, a series of footsteps could be heard. It was especially clear in the empty alleyway, and Meng Yao and Yushu's hearts jumped. At that moment, the hairs on the two's backs stood up. They were wondering if Yu Lu had followed them here. The footsteps were getting nearer and nearer, and Meng Yao and Yushu subconsciously shrunk back. They were hiding behind a pile of junk, but if someone were to pass by, they'd still notice their silhouettes. Just as the person was about to pass by, the sound of coughing could be heard. It was the sound of an old woman coughing. Clearly, it was also the sound of the person who had come. Cough, cough. The cough made Meng Yao and Yushu relax. Thank goodness it wasn't Yu Lu. Not long after, a short old lady pushed a cart and slowly walked over. However, the old lady walked very slowly. Her eyes seemed to be sizing up the ground as she walked. She was a scavenger, and her cart was filled with broken cardboard boxes, bottles, and scrap metal. She looked around to see if there were any discarded bottles. When she passed by Meng Yao and Yushu, she saw the two curled up behind a pile of junk. The old lady's eyes flashed when she saw the two girls hiding there. She didn't know what they were doing here, but she subconsciously looked at them a few more times. Then, a look of disbelief appeared in the old lady's eyes. Fairies, you're the fairies. The old lady stopped in her tracks and cried out to Meng Yao and Yushu. Meng Yao and Yushu listened to the old lady's words. They froze for a second, but in the next moment, they recognized the old lady. She was the old lady who picked up scraps at the back door of Tiandi Entertainment. She was humiliated by Zhening Jun and Lin Yi transfer her disease to Zhening Jun. At that time, the old lady's chronic illness was suddenly cured. Naturally, she thought that Meng Yao and Yushu were fairies. After all, only fairies could do that, right? No matter how good a doctor was, he could only cure her illness. However, they could transfer their pain to the young man who bullied them. Only immortals could do this. With that, the old lady put down the car and was about to kneel down to greet Meng Yao and Yushu. Being able to meet a goddess once was already a blessing for her ancestors. One could imagine how excited the old lady was to be able to meet a fairy for the second time. Granny, we're not fairies. Meng Yao subconsciously stopped the old woman from kneeling down. After all, they couldn't accept the old woman's kowtow. You must be fairies. If you're not fairies, how can you cure this old lady's chronic illness? And how can you transfer the disease to that evil man? Did you transfer it to that evil person? Asked the granny. Meng Yao didn't know how Lin Yi did it, and so she couldn't explain it. If it weren't for the fact that Lin Yi had so many miraculous abilities, she would have been surprised if it was the first time she saw something like this. Two fairies. If you don't mind, you can come to my house. I want to donate all my savings over the years as incense money to you, said the old lady. You're not willing to accept this old lady's kowtow from me, but if you don't mind, you can come to my house. She was a grateful old woman, and she'd been scavenging for a living all these years. Her disability made it hard for her to move around, and the things she could scavenge every day were limited. But now that her legs were more agile, her income had increased greatly. She could now go to places she couldn't go before, and it was only natural that she was grateful to Meng Yao and Yushu. Meng Yao and Yushu looked at each other. The two weren't greedy for the old lady's incense money, but they were worried about finding a place to hide. Since the old lady invited them, and it was someone they knew, they weren't afraid of someone with ulterior motives. It was exactly what Meng Yao and Yushu wanted. Sure, Granny, but we're not fairies. We'll tell you in detail when we get to your house. Meng Yao could see that the old lady was a kind person. She wouldn't pretend to be a fairy to trick her. Okay, that's great. The old lady couldn't stop smiling when she heard Meng Yao and Yushu's agreement. In fact, it didn't matter if Meng Yao and Yushu were fairies or not. The important thing was that the old lady had met her benefactors again. Being able to repay them was what made the old lady the happiest. Meng Yao lifted the bag, and Yushu carried Lin Yi on her back. The old lady paused when she saw this scene. Fairies, let me help you carry this. How can I let you do manual labor? Granny, it's fine. But before Meng Yao could finish, the old lady took the bag from her hands easily and put it on the cart. Lin Yi, who was on Yushu's back, was also carried by the old lady. The scene stunned Meng Yao and Yushu. They didn't expect this skinny old lady to be so strong. The old lady smiled when she saw the shock. I used to carry a sack on the streets when my legs weren't as good as before. What heavy things haven't I carried before? Now that my legs are healed, this is nothing. Meng Yao and Yushu calmed down after hearing the old lady's words. They walked forward with the old lady. The old lady, on the other hand, saw Skybolt Pig and General Wei Wu on the ground. She blinked and rubbed her eyes. She was sure that Meng Yao and Yushu were fairies. In her entire life, she had never seen a pig that could walk on two legs and a dog that could carry things like this. If she wasn't a fairy, how could there be such a spiritual beast in the celestial world? Wasn't this something that only happened in the journey to the west? However, since she didn't want to admit it, the old granny didn't insist. Perhaps she was a fairy who had descended to the mortal world and wanted to keep it a secret. The old grandma's house wasn't far from here, and it was also on the first floor. The old grandma opened the door and let Yushu and Meng Yao in first, before closing the door behind them. To be continued. If you like this work, you are welcome to vote for me at Qidian. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1824. This is my house, and it's a bit messy. Please don't mind. The old lady said. Saint Hall. Grandma, we really aren't fairies. Besides, it's good enough that we have a place to stay. Meng Yao smiled bitterly. She didn't know why, but the old lady was so sure that they were fairies. With that, the old lady opened the door, and the group entered the house. The yard was messy, with all sorts of junk everywhere, but the house was clean and tidy. The old lady lived in an old house with 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. There wasn't much decoration, and there wasn't any good furniture either. Even so, the house was clean and spotless. It was obvious that the old lady was a hard-working person. Please have a seat, fairies. I'll make you some tea. The old lady placed Lin Yi on the sofa carefully. She didn't know what happened to Lin Yi, but she didn't dare ask if the 2 fairies didn't want to talk about it. The old lady recognized Lin Yi as the man who was with the 2 fairies at the back door of Tiandi Entertainment. Don't bother, Grandma. We really aren't fairies. Not only that, we have a favor to ask. Meng Yao quickly stopped the old lady from making tea. Saint Hall. Not long after the 3 entered the yard, a figure appeared at the entrance of the alley. It was Yu Lu. Yu Lu's eyes looked coldly at the empty alleyway. He flew up to the top of a 3-story building, looking down at the alleyway, but he didn't see anything out of place. This was the innermost alleyway. He'd searched the other alleyways, but Meng Yao and the others weren't there. He'd thought that Meng Yao and Yushu would be hiding here, but they weren't there. Could it be that they really weren't here? Or did they think that I would definitely follow them to this alley when I saw them abandoning their car? So, they deliberately didn't go here and chose the main street where it would be easier for them to be exposed? Yu Lu's face darkened at the thought. He felt that he'd underestimated Meng Yao and Yushu. The most dangerous place was also the safest place. Why hadn't he thought of that? Of course, Yu Lu didn't think that Meng Yao would know any friends or relatives in this old building district. After all, judging from the villa district they lived in, it was impossible for them to have any interaction with the people living here. Saint Hall. Yu Lu sighed softly as he left the area, returning to the jeep under the overpass, trying to figure out the escape route Meng Yao and Yushu might have taken. Even if he found the right route, he might not be able to catch up to them. It had been a long time after all, and Yushu might have found a hotel and settled down by now. But no matter what, Yu Lu had to give it a try. Meng Yao wanted to find a place to stay, so she didn't hide anything. She told the old grandma about her, Yushu, and Lin Yi being followed. She also explained that she and Yushu weren't fairies, but Lin Yi was a great doctor. He could cure her and create similar symptoms for Jianing Jun at the same time. The old grandma didn't think twice about Meng Yao's request to stay here for a while. She was a lonely old lady, and Meng Yao's arrival wouldn't bring her any inconvenience. Plus, the old grandma wanted to repay Meng Yao and Yushu, so she wouldn't reject them. Although you say that you are not fairies, from what this old woman has seen for dozens of years, even if you are not fairies, you are still extraordinary people. Being able to let you live here is the good fortune that this old woman has accumulated in her previous life. This old woman is truly very happy. The old woman said. Thank you, Grandma. Meng Yao and Yushu finally let out a sigh of relief. They'd planned to find a more secluded hotel to stay in, but even if they could use Ling Yi's name to register, Yu Lu wouldn't be able to find them. After all, The three of them were too obvious, and two girls with an unconscious boy. He'd be able to find them easily if he went to any hotel and asked around. As long as Lin Yi stayed in the house and didn't come out, who would pay attention to an old lady who picked up scraps? No need to thank me. I should be the one thanking you. I can't thank you enough for letting me enjoy the life of a normal person before I die. The old lady said. By the way, you said that the young miracle-working doctor was in a coma because of illness. He must need to buy medicine. I don't have much savings in my life, but I'll give it all to you. It's a token of my gratitude to the young miracle-working doctor for treating me. Meng Yao and Yushu were in need of money, but they didn't want to take the old grandma's money. Take this, the old woman said as she took out a bank book, handing it to Meng Yao and Yushu. I've been an old woman for my whole life. My husband and kids are gone. I don't really need money. Meng Yao was shocked when she saw the number on the bank book. There was 100,000. She didn't think that a lonely old grandma could get so much money by scavenging. Maybe I'll lend it to you, and I'll return it to you later. Meng Yao thought about her father's situation and Lin Yi's situation. She accepted the bank book with a thick face. She needed money right now, and although Jianghu had sent over a sum of money, it wasn't enough to cover her father's medical expenses. Plus, Lin Yi's medical expenses weren't there yet. Haha, it doesn't matter if you return it or not. But you said someone was following you. Why didn't you call the police? The old grandma asked curiously. Meng Yao didn't know how to explain. That person is very strong, and he's already a practitioner. Do you know what practitioners are? Practitioners? The old lady's eyes suddenly flashed with a strange light, but she quickly returned to normal as if she was reminiscing. After a while she shook her head and said, I think I've heard of it before, but it's been too long so I can't remember. Meng Yao nodded, not minding too much. After all, normal people didn't know much about practitioners. Even if they did hear about it, it was just a rumor. The only people who could see it with their own eyes were the bodyguards of big bosses. Chapter 1825. It was naturally impossible for an old lady who scavenged for scraps to know anything about cultivators. They're very powerful people, similar to the martial arts masters of the ancient times. Meng Yao smiled bitterly. These people's kung fu is very high, and they appear and disappear unpredictably. I understand now. So you've offended a martial arts master. The old lady nodded. Then we'll settle down here first. I'm just a scavenger, and no one will notice me. It's very safe here. Meng Yao nodded. Grandma, we'll go scavenge with you tomorrow. Meng Yao had decided that she had to do something. The money she had, along with the old lady's 100,000, was only enough to pay for her father's medical fees for a short period of time. If Lin Yi didn't wake up by then, she would have to continue paying for his medical fees to keep him alive. Although the hospital couldn't wake her father up, Lin Yi must have a way. She had to hold on until Lin Yi woke up, and she couldn't give up on treatment. Chapter 1840. Where would the money come from? Meng Yao had been thinking about this problem. She had thought about finding a place to work, but after Lu's tracking, she knew that it was impossible. At least, she couldn't show her face in public. Scavenging with the old lady was Meng Yao's only choice. No one would have thought that the high and mighty miss of Pengzhan Industries would become a little girl who scavenged for scraps. Even Meng Yao herself didn't think that there would be a day where she would do this, let alone Lu and the others. But from the moment Tang Yun made her decision and returned to the villa, Meng Yao's mind had changed. Miss. Without her father's halo, she was nothing. She couldn't even be compared to Tang Yun. So she didn't have any mental barriers following the old lady. She could rely on her own hands for Lin Yi and her father. There was nothing to be embarrassed about. There's no need. Just stay at home. I can handle it myself. I don't need to say much. I'll pay for the little miracle doctor's medical expenses every day. The old lady said with a smile, I've been picking up trash for decades. I'm experienced. Sanctuary. Grandma, the more people, the more we earn. Meng Yao said firmly. That's fine, but you two girls with delicate skin should wear masks. Otherwise, if someone sees you, they will be suspicious. The old lady hesitated for a moment and said. Meng Yao realized, to her surprise, that the old granny was actually very meticulous. She could think of details that even they couldn't. What kind of herbs do you need?
I'll get them for you tonight. The old lady asked. Takidara, the recipe is here. Meng Yao wanted to say that she wanted to go with the old grandma, but she was afraid of bumping into Yu Lu. After all, Yu Lu would be wandering around the area looking for them. Meng Yao said, Grandma, let General Wei Wu go with you. He can protect you. It's already so late. I'm worried about you being alone. Haha, this old woman is also very famous in this area. Who would rob a rag picker like me? The old lady smiled faintly, but seeing Meng Yao's insistence, she nodded and said, All right, I'll go with him. The General Wei Wu you're talking about, is it this dog? Yes, General Wei Wu. You go with Grandma to buy the medicine. Protect Grandma's safety, understand? Meng Yao ordered General Wei Wu. Woof woof. General Wei Wu nodded, indicating that it understood. On the other hand, the old lady was a little surprised when she saw General Wei Wu. Such a smart dog surprised her. Although she saw that the dog was carrying a lot of baggage, she didn't pay much attention to it. Many animals were stronger than humans, but now that she looked at General Wei Wu, she couldn't help but let out a "huh." She was full of surprise. What's wrong? Meng Yao asked curiously. It's nothing. This dog is really smart. The old lady shook her head and said kindly to General Wei Wu, Let's go, follow me to buy the medicine. Woof woof. General Wei Wu immediately followed the old lady out of the room. After the old lady left the room, Meng Yao sighed deeply. Shoo, we're really lucky to have met the old lady. Otherwise, we wouldn't even have a place to stay. Yeah, Prophet Shu is really amazing. She asked Shield Bro to do a good deed, and now she's getting rewarded. Yu Shu nodded. Meng Yao was speechless. If her prophecy had come true, then it would have been reasonable, but what happened today was just a coincidence. This girl really knew how to take credit for something. Naturally, Yu Lu wouldn't be interested in an old lady who brought a dog out to buy medicine. He looked around and didn't see Meng Yao and Yu Shu, so he went to Yu Xiaochen to ask for forgiveness. Because of a small mistake, he'd missed a good opportunity, and he was filled with regret. But, after listening to Yu Lu's explanation, Xiaochen didn't blame him. He only had himself to blame for not making things clear before, causing Yu Lu to be afraid. Xiaochen wasn't someone who didn't know what was good and bad, so he only asked Yu Lu to go to Lin Yi's villa and see if he could find anything. If he couldn't, then he'd give up for now. If Meng Yao really wanted to hide, then Yu Lu alone wouldn't be able to find any clues. There was no need for him to waste his time. House Chu's villa. Ling Shan and Yu Tian had left a long time ago. The two were only lightly injured, and even they didn't know why Yu Lu was merciful. But no matter what, they were still alive. Meng Yao and Yu Shu were gone, and they wouldn't stay in the villa for long. If Yu Lu came back, they wouldn't be a match for him. Without Meng Yao and Yu Shu, they'd be idiots to fight Yu Lu head-on. And so, when Yu Lu returned to the villa, there was no one there. Yu Lu started searching from the first floor until he turned the villa upside down. He didn't find anything valuable. After finding nothing, Yu Lu left Songshan quietly and returned to the hidden house Yu. Under the dim light, Meng Yao carefully sat in front of the stove, looking at the medicine in the pot. She'd followed Elder Zhang's instructions strictly, but what made her heart ache was that the medicine Lin Yi used cost more than 1,000 kuai. Target equals _blank. Chapter 1826. With Difficulty Walking Part 2. This was only the price of the first prescription. The second prescription hadn't been filled yet, but the old lady had shown it to the owner of the pharmacy, and the price was even higher. Of course, this amount of money wasn't much to Meng Yao and Yu Shu in the past, but it was a huge amount now. Meng Yao was going to use the money she had to send to Faubert tomorrow for her father's medical fees, and it might not even be enough. Lin Yi's medical fees, on the other hand, would have to rely on scavenging every day. Not only that, but she also had to save up some money for Faubert. Meng Yao felt a headache coming on as she thought about how to make ends meet. She'd never had to worry about money before, but this was the first time she'd experienced the pain of not having enough money. Yao Yao, even if Shield Bro wakes up in a month, we'd have to pick up at least 5,000 kuai worth of trash every day just to survive. Yu Shu said as she calculated the daily expenditure. Lin Yi's medical fees and Ping Zhan's medical fees were a huge sum. 5,000. Meng Yao smiled bitterly. How was that even possible? Scavenging wasn't like picking up gold. How were they supposed to scavenge 5,000 yuan a day?
Yushu shut her mouth after saying that. Luckily, the two had brought some jewelry with them when they left. They didn't like to wear jewelry normally, but they would still wear jewelry in formal occasions. It wasn't much, but they could still sell it for some money. It was just that it wouldn't be much, since the two didn't have any expensive jewelry. They only had normal stuff. The next morning, Mengyao and Yushu changed into ragged outfits. They didn't think too much about it when they left, and only took their best clothes. Going scavenging in these clothes would definitely attract attention, and they'd take a photo and post it on the internet. They'd be labeled as the most beautiful scavenger girl, and it'd be too late for Yushu and Yushu to cry. They'd be waiting for Yulu to find clues. Yushu's body was about the same size as the old grandma's, and she could fit into the old grandma's old clothes, but Mengyao couldn't. Left with no choice, she found the most ordinary-looking clothes she had and made them very wrinkled and dirty. That way, the original value of the clothes couldn't be seen anymore, and it looked like something bought from the streets for a long time, something that hadn't been taken care of in a long time. The two of them looked at each other's sloppy appearance and couldn't help but smile bitterly at the same time. They never thought that they would be in such dire straits one day. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance to frugality. But in their hearts, this was nothing compared to what Tang Yun had done for Lin Yi. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but hard to go from extravagance to frugality. But in their hearts, for Lin Yi, this kind of hardship was nothing compared to what Tang Yun had done. Thinking about how Tang Yun was willing to endure the torment of love for Lin Yi, Mengyao and Yushu felt that at least they could stay by Lin Yi's side. Wasn't this a kind of happiness? Faubert only heard about the changes in the villa from Lingshan and Yutian the next day. When he heard that Mengyao and Yushu had run away, he didn't know if Yulu had caught up to them, and he started to panic. Beside the ICU, Faubert subconsciously wanted to call Mengyao after hearing Lingshan's words. Don't bother, we've already called them yesterday. Both of them turned off their phones. Lingshan smiled bitterly. Turned off? Did Yulu catch them? Faubert asked, shocked. There are two possibilities. One is that they turned off their phones to avoid Yulu's pursuit. After all, GPS isn't complicated, and if House Yu really wanted to, they could find them through their phone numbers. Lingshan said, the other possibility is that Yulu caught them and turned off their phones, but that's less likely, since Yulu is looking for Lin Yi, not Mengyao and Yushu. There's no point in catching them. So my analysis is that they've successfully escaped Yulu's pursuit. Otherwise, if Yulu really did catch them and make a move on Lin Yi, they'd contact us for sure. Yes, I can tell that Yulu's target is Lin Yi. He doesn't even have the intention to hurt the people around Lin Yi. He gave me and Lingshan a slap each yesterday, but we only got light injuries, and we're almost healed in one night. Yu Qian agreed. That's good. Faubert breathed out in relief. But, just as the three finished talking, Faubert's phone rang. Faubert took it out and saw that it was an unfamiliar landline. Faubert's heart sank as he picked up the phone. Hello? Hello. Faubert. It's Yao Yao. Give me your bank account number. I have 200,000 with me. I'll transfer it to you to pay for Dad's medical fees. Don't stop the treatment. Meng Yao said worriedly. She didn't use her or Shu's phone. They had the same problem as Lingshan. If Yulu wanted to, he'd definitely be able to track their phones. So Meng Yao found a random public phone. The 200,000 included Jiangwen's 100,000 and the old grandma's 100,000. As for the lion, Meng Yao didn't dare contact Jiangwen again, so she had to let it go for now. 200,000? Faubert was a little surprised at how Meng Yao got so much money, but he was more worried about them and Lin Yi's safety. Yao Yao, how are you and he? I heard that House Yu's Yulu is after you? Yeah, we've successfully escaped. He didn't notice us. Meng Yao said. We're safe now. Tell me your bank account number. Shu and I will try to earn as much money as we can. As long as you're fine. Faubert breathed out in relief. Since Meng Yao didn't want to tell him where they were, Faubert didn't want to ask. After all, he was afraid that he'd be found out if he knew too much. It was better not to know. My bank account number is. With that, Faubert gave her his bank account number. All right, I'll remember it. I'll leave Dad to you. Meng Yao said after writing it down. Then you guys be careful. Faubert said. I know, Faubert. I won't contact you for a while. I'll transfer the money to you when I get it. Meng Yao said. As long as we hold on until Lin Yi wakes up, everything will be fine.
I understand. Faubert nodded relieved. Yao Yao, don't worry, I'll take care of Mr. Chu.
Target equals __blank.